Hello everyone, welcome to the Tristar Gym channel. Please give me a thumbs up, make sure you guys hear me loud and clear. And let's start another episode, late night episode. I'm ambushing you guys here tonight. Making sure you guys are on your toes, as always, hopefully. All you samurais already. Salam, 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 yes, hello everyone. Choger, thank you. Marcus, thank you. Yassine, thank you. I'm taking it that I have late one. Yes, that's right. Brian Hernandez, thank you guys. Thank you for the thumbs up. Okay, sound is working. Welcome everybody. Umar Sheikh, my friend, thank you. Salaam alaikum as well. Hello everyone. Today we're going to be covering Kron Gracie versus Cub Swanson. What a fight. Such an incredible fight. I'm like always, I'm going to give you guys my initial thoughts as you guys get into the chat room. I was just rewatching it again here real quick. I just want to see the end of the third round here. Watching Cub Swanson and Kron put on a show. What a fight, man. Really incredible fight. I just want to see Kron's takedown attempt here in the second round. It was a tough one. It was a tough fight. Okay, guys, my initial thoughts on this fight. First of all, I was thoroughly entertained because it was a great fight. Action-packed from the beginning of the bell. Kron was working hard, coming forward. Cub was impressive with his footwork, his hands, his counters, his movement. Both men were fighting really well. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be very critical of Kron because he brought to the table a very old style, okay? But coming in with a style, in my opinion, you can bring any style as long as it worked, okay? And it didn't work. However, we can say that Khabib brings in an old type of style, and it really works. Okay, he takes down all his opponents, and he mauls them, and he uses wrestling and jiu-jitsu and sambo and everything, and his boxing to bring the guy down to the ground and just bring them in the bottom position and just drown them with his pressure, and he finally gets the sub. Okay, so we've seen an evolution, obviously, throughout the years. Kron is a bit of a flash from the past. Okay, his style is kind of old, and I think a lot of people were bothered by that and a lot of very critical. But I'm not. You know, I think that he's only 5 fights in, and he has a lot to learn, and he's gonna figure out, and he's gonna adapt his style, no doubt. Okay, he's gonna get better at takedowns. But what did impress me was his ability to punch. Okay, and not necessarily his. Okay, he was not as slick as Cub. I'll give you guys that. But he did land nearly 100 significant strikes. Okay, let me pull up the exact stats here. Now, I'm not a big believer in these stats, but they're just an indicator. Okay, he had 86 significant strikes, and Cub had 135. Now, 135 is a lot more significant strikes than 86, obviously. And you can't compare one significant strike with another. We can't equate them to be the same. I think Cub not only landed more, he landed by far the better strikes. His strikes connected more, they followed through more, they were more damaging. When Kron landed, it was not as significant. Okay, even though you might count it as a significant strike, I'll give it to you guys. I agree with the majority of you. I imagine the majority of you are going to say that his strikes are not as significant as Cub. No doubt about it. Cub's strikes were more significant. He connected more often. But what really impressed me with Kron was his determination. His determination was incredible. His heart is incredible. He has a heart of a lion. Now, I'll tell you guys something. I've seen a lot of fighters. I've trained a lot of people. It's not easy to do what Kron did. To keep coming forward, to never back down, to never back up, even though when you get hit, he kept moving forward. That was the only way, in my opinion, he was going to win the fight. The only way is if he kept pressuring Cub, kept pressuring Cub. If he moved back, if he stepped back, if Kron had stepped back, I think he would, because with his skill set, okay, now listen, I would have, if I was Kron's trainer, I would have trained him totally differently. I don't think he went about it in the way that is the most efficient, most likely for success, okay? But with the tools he had, he followed, with the limited tools he had, he followed the best game plan. Move forward, walk him down, move forward. Even when you get hit, you cannot step back because Cub's striking is far more sophisticated. He had to march Cub down, and the third round was his best round, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying he was close to beating Cub at all. I think Cub was in control of round 3. But it was a better round. again, with that limited set of skill set he had. Now, of course, his skill set on the ground is amazing. We're talking about his boxing and his wrestling. We have to say it was limited. Okay, he's not the best striker and he's not the best wrestler in the division. How does he get the fight to the ground? That was the best strategy, in my opinion, for the skill set he had that night. Now, does Kron have room to grow? Absolutely. I think he will. Why? Because he showed so much determination. He showed so much effort. He showed so much courage. He showed so much toughness that I was impressed with that, because that's something that's very special. When you have a fighter who can show so much guts, you can work with a fighter like that. Now, is he open-minded to develop his skills? Is he open-minded to branch out in different types of martial arts? That's going to be the big question. But he has the athleticism. He has the will. He has that toughness. He has that thing that's very hard to teach. His determination was incredibly impressive. His determination was really I admire him for his determination, his toughness. But Cub is way too experienced, way too skilled, and in a large octagon like that, it's going to be very hard to catch. Cub won all 3 rounds, and I thought that he won round 1 by the biggest margin, then round 2 was slightly less, and round 3 was a closer round. I like to imagine, what if there was no rounds and no time limit? What would happen in that fight? I always think like that. This is really what fighting is, in my opinion. Imagine there was no time limit, no rounds. We're just going to fight till one guy quits or one guy cannot continue. I think Kron could actually win a fight like this. He can go way further, because the thing is, the 3 rounds and the 5 minutes always going to hurt Kron. Why? Because we saw his ability to close the distance was very limited. His ability to close distance is very limited. It's going to take Kron a long time to close the distance. But we saw he's also not going away. At the end of the round, at the end of the 3rd round, he was still ready to fight hard. He showed incredible conditioning. He showed incredible toughness. He showed incredible will to win. And I still always feel like he has one takedown. He needs to body lock. He needs to get into that one. All he needs is one good takedown, and that can change everything. Now, Cub Swanson's a black belt. He's very seasoned. It's not that simple. Even taking Cub down doesn't mean it's going to be the end. Absolutely not. All I'm saying is it could be. That's how good Kron is. That's how devastating his submissions can be. So that was my assessment. I think Kron has a lot to learn and grow, but he also has a lot to bring to the table. Okay, he has a lot to bring to the table. I think the fans are going to be overly negative. I feel it coming. I'm going to open it up to your comments and questions not very shortly. I feel they're going to be overly negative. Let's try to keep it balanced. I think he brought a lot to the table, even though we saw that there was a lot of issues with his game. It's not modernized. It needs an upgrade. So let's open it up, guys. That was my initial breakdown of the fight. I didn't go into too much detail technically, but that's the overall. Okay, now let's open it up to you guys, and that way we can touch up on the more technical issues. Okay, about the fight. Hey, coach, what do you agree with 30-27 score? I gave it 29-28 to Cub. And if that was a 5-round, hold on a second. Let me open this up here. I can't see your text. Okay, here we go. I gave it 29-28 to Cub. And what if that fight had 5 rounds? Love from Brazil. Hello, Michael. Michael, listen, I gave it 30-27. No doubt 30-27. I can't see which round you would give to Kron. I assume it would be the 3rd. But no, I do not think Kron won that round. If it was 5 rounds, I think Kron would have a better chance to win a round and maybe even possibly finish, even though I still think that Cub would win the fight. I think Kron would need more than 5 rounds, but I think he can go more than 5 rounds. I think I think Kron can do 10 rounds and keep moving forward. For us, do you think Nate and Nick boxing BJJ style are misleading Kron or learning kickboxing / wrestling? Kara, I think what you mean is the Diaz style of boxing and jiu-jitsu misleading Kron? Shouldn't Kron maybe do kickboxing and wrestling instead of just boxing and jiu-jitsu? I would agree with you. Okay, I think the boxing style of the Diaz brothers makes sense for them. They have a very long reach. But even then, I would have recommended that they learn kickboxing, like really learn kickboxing, not just boxing. Okay, so I totally agree with you, Kara. There's no reason why he shouldn't kick knee, elbow. There's no reason whatsoever. It'll help him cut off the octagon. It'll help him add up more strikes on the board. It'll help him slow down his opponents. You kick the leg, and then you throw a punch. Now all of a sudden you got your opponent guessing. That sets up an elbow. It sets up a double leg. If you look at, for instance, Ortega landed a massive elbow on Frankie Edgar. You can't say elbows, knees, and kicks don't work. They're fight-ending strikes. It happens over and over again. So why limit yourself only to punching when these techniques work? Now, the argument usually is people are going to be like, well, it takes away from your punching ability. You can concentrate more on punching and become a better puncher. That's true, but don't forget, a good leg kick, a good knee to the body opens up my striking. It opens up my punches as well. Okay, so what happens, people start getting very used to knowing that everybody's aware that you're a really good boxer. We're going to stay away from your boxing. And then what do you have left? If I neutralize your boxing somehow, and there are different strategies, you got no kicks, you got no knees, you got no ability to close the distance. You have no other attacks. So it might work for a while, then all of a sudden you plateau. Why? Because everybody kind of knows what you do and they know how to prepare for you. So in my opinion, you're right. They should kickbox, etc. Okay, guys, I'm going to do a quick thank you to the sponsors. Guys, don't forget the world's greatest massager, the Tim Tam. This is it, baby. This is the one. Hold on. Let me. Okay, this is the one here. This one is the TT Pro. This one, there's no better machine on the market. This one here travels 32 millimeters. Don't be fooled by the other machines out there. The other ones travel 21 millimeters. It's a totally different level of power. Okay, and this one also is the only one in the world with heat. Okay, this one is the only one in the world with heat infusion. This machine, if you're training, you won't regret it. Okay, it's massage for life. We also have the all new. Okay, this one's only $250. It's more powerful than any other machine on the market, second only to the Pro. Okay, there is no machine more powerful than this one. This one is more rugged. It's cheaper. Okay, it's half the price. It's built to last. This thing's it's a brick. Okay, it's really, really strong. The power on this one is incredible. It's 26 millimeter travel, longer than any other machine out there. Special thank you to Gym Kings, guys. We got Gym Kings in the house. Monster Energy. Thank you, Monster Energy. And, of course, jujiclub.com. Check out my instructional videos. I got 2 and a new one coming out on the way. Okay, guys, with that said, let's continue on Kron versus Cub Swanson. Thoroughly entertaining fight. There's none of you out there didn't like the fight. We all enjoyed that fight. What else we got on that fight? Gracie knows knee stomps. Not sure what you mean by that. Do you think it's too late for Kron to only now start building a usable striking game? That's from Nesri. No, it's not too late. I think the guy trains around the clock, man. The guy trains around the clock. I'm pretty sure after his performance, we saw how far his striking has come. I know you guys are going to be telling me, Coach, he was stiff. And guys, he took a shot and kept moving forward. You know how scary it is to take a shot from Cub Swanson when you only have 5 fights? You only have 5 fights. Cub Swanson has like 15 or 20 wins in UFC. Like, the guy's so experienced. He's been around. You know how many training camps Cub Swanson has over Kron? He has years and years of he fought in WEC, for goodness sake. He's been doing this a long time. Kron got in there. He showed incredible courage, and he took shots from a seasoned puncher and stayed the course. He didn't panic. He didn't lose his he didn't lose his nerve. I'm thoroughly impressed by Kron. You guys, if you guys ever fought, you would know. You would know. Like, it's incredible. What he did was really incredible with only 5 fights. I definitely think he can branch out and learn new things. Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt. Doesn't it seem Diaz and now Kron lack offensive wrestling? I would imagine a fighter at that level has trained some takedowns. That's from David Shake. David, I won't lie. Hold on. Let me just blow up here the... All right. I now have the power. I was taught by the button pushers how to make the text bigger. So now I can actually read your questions. Okay, great. So you're saying, look, wouldn't they have learned takedowns? The Diaz brothers, Kron, why didn't they learn any takedowns? I totally agree. I don't believe that jiu-jitsu and wrestling should ever have been separated. There was a time where the samurais trained takedowns and jiu-jitsu together. Okay? On the battlefield, they were going to use judo or whatever you want to call it. Jiu-jitsu and judo back then was interchangeable. They had takedowns and submissions. Takedowns and submission. Takedowns and submission. If you lose your sword, you're taking your enemy down, and you're breaking his arm, you're breaking his leg. Okay, this is what jiu-jitsu was all about. There was a time where they separated the two. That should have never been done, in my opinion. Wrestling and jiu-jitsu should be married, and there's not one that's better than the other. Now, I remember listening to Joe Rogan's podcast with Rickson Gracie. Rickson Gracie, Eddie Bravo, and Rogan, all three having a conversation. I'm a huge Gracie fan, Rickson Gracie fan, okay? I'm a huge Rickson Gracie fan. So I was listening to that interview, and Eddie Bravo was like, look, what do you do if you're in a fight and you can't take the guy down? And Rickson was like, well, you pull guard. Okay, he's like, okay, you pull guard. Okay, fine. So Eddie Bravo was asking him then, okay, so you pull guard. What kind of guard do you use? He's like, well, Rickson was like, because of punches, you got to open your guard, kind of put your knee between you and him. And then Eddie was like, okay, well, if you open your guard, the guy's just going to what stops him from just getting up? He might get up out of your guard. And then Rickson was like, well, then I have to get up and pull guard again. And Rogan and Eddie were kind of looking at each other. They were like, wait a second, that makes no sense. Because you pull guard, then you let him out of your guard. You pull guard, then you let him out of your guard. Like, isn't that going to just be like a cat chasing its tail? A dog chasing its tail? Where's the logic in that? Like, how do you force the guy to stay on the ground? That's what Eddie and Rogan were trying to get to. He was like, I'll tie him up, I'll pull guard, and I'll kind of like hold him down, and I have to open my legs. And they were like mystified. They couldn't understand. But then we saw Kron kind of did exactly that. Kron pulled guard. To be fair, I don't think he ever got his legs locked. I think at one point he did, but then he opened his guard. I have to rewatch it again, but hold on a second. Let me just make sure I don't make a mistake here. But I remember him closing the guard. Here it is. I have actually. Okay, so round 3, I'm at 39 seconds left. Kron is in the closed guard. And he's opening his guard. He's heel kicking. He's kind of going for a guillotine. He's hip heisting. The guard is now open. Cub is on top. And Cub just stands up out of the guard. He's going for a guillotine. He had unlocked his legs. And now they're back up to their feet. Okay. So this is correct. Okay. So Kron had jump guard a couple of times. And every time he jumped guard, he unlocked his feet. And opened the guard. And then Cub got up. He pulled guard, I think, in round 2. And then he pulled guard in round 3, and it was the same thing. Cub just kind of got up. Why? He opened his legs. So pulling guard is not something you see very often in MMA. To have that because it's not very successful. To have that as the base of your takedown game is kind of weird. And I remember Kron was on the Rogan show as well, and they were talking to him about Damian Maia. Rogan was mentioning Damian Maia, and Kron was like, I don't trust Damian Maia's jiu-jitsu. And Rogan was taken aback because at that time, Maia is probably arguably the greatest grappler, arguably one of the greatest grapplers in the history of fighting. He was burning through people. He was crushing people. Maia is a killer. And Kron's like, because I think what Rogan was trying to say was like, look, maybe that guy's a good blueprint for you. And Kron didn't seem very open to that. Kron was like, look, I don't trust anybody else's jiu-jitsu. I just trust mine. And I'm going to show you what I can do. Okay. But the thing is, there's so much you haven't experienced. There's so much out there that you might not be aware of. I think was what Rogan was trying to teach him. And listen, I think after the Cub Swanson fight, he's gonna reformulate. He's gonna come up with a new strategy. There's got to be something else because that formula doesn't work anymore. That formula, I don't want to say it won't work anymore. It won't work consistently. It won't work consistently and take you all the way to the top. It won't. It's highly unlikely you pull your guard all the way up to a world championship. It will be shocking. Listen, it's not impossible. Maybe somebody someday is going to do it. They're going to have a new way of pulling guard. They're going to have a new trick up their sleeve. They're going to have a new dilemma that they're bringing to the table. But the one that Kron brought to the table was not the one. Okay, it's not the one. There's a lot of guys who get past this. In my opinion, it's not going to be effective. Now, what's Kron going to come up with in the future? He's a smart guy. He's going to adapt. He's going to find new ways. And hopefully he doesn't just try harder. Like he doesn't come back with the same formula, just trying harder. Because what he tried his hardest against Cub Swanson. And that's the maximum amount of human will, I think. That's what I was impressed with. I was impressed with Kron's incredible will. Now that will has to be pointed in the right direction. And that's going to take some open-mindedness and some exploration, some trial and error. He's going to have to get out of his wheelhouse, because his wheelhouse is, in my opinion, is not going to be, no matter how hard you train, no matter how much you try, that solution it's just not the right key for that door. It's just not the right key. All right, next question on the Kron versus Cub Swanson. Kron's ego will be his downfall. That's from Elder Scroll. Well, look, I don't know if the guy has an ego. I've never met him. I briefly met him, I think, once, years ago. I think we just said hello to each other. We shook hands, but I don't think he. I don't know his personality whatsoever. Matthew Gonzalez says, Kron probably won't learn. He feels he won that fight by walking forward. Sad face. Matthew, I'm not sure. Did he say that he thought he won the fight? I'm not sure. Is that confirmed? I did see a headline like that, but I didn't think it was true. Maybe it was just like a clickbait thing. He says he felt like he won that fight because he was moving forward. And that doesn't matter. You can move forward, but you're getting hit. I think if the fight is super even and one guy's moving back excessively, he's delaying the fight. Okay, maybe he's losing. But if you're moving back and you're being effective, it's a legitimate strategy. Yes, he said he won that fight. That's from Embid. Embid saying that he won that fight. Tony Ferguson saying yes, he did say that. Torres is saying yes, he did say that. Tetsu is saying yes, he did say that. Okay, so I'm assuming he did say that. Please, guys, let me know if my volume is okay. Listen, if he said that, he has to rewatch the fight. I hope he has good friends near him. They'll be honest with him. You know, fighters ask me, hey, did I win that fight, coach? And I'll be like, listen, I have to be honest with you. It could have went either way. Or I have to be honest with you, I think the guy got the best of you in third round or whatever. I'm honest with my fighters. You have to be honest. If your fighter trusts you and you have a good relationship, it won't bother him. And I wouldn't say it publicly. I wouldn't be like, no, you lost. And I'm going to tweet about. No, I'm not going to do that. I mean, between me and you, when we're behind closed doors, I'm going to be like, look, this is what I think happened in the fight. Here's where I think we need to go. That's just my opinion. If you take it or leave it. A good friend can tell you face to face an honest opinion. What you don't want is a bunch of yes men around you that tell you you're great and you have zero flaws. That's gonna be a problem because all of a sudden you don't know what's what no more. Okay, and it does happen in camps. Believe me, sometimes we get too much in praise mode because we want to give the fighter confidence. We want to give the fighter a boost of confidence and belief. But after the fight, we gotta be very, very meticulous and very self-aware and just honest, not in a bad way. Okay, not in a way we put each other down, but constructive criticism, constructive feedback, constructive. That's the key, constructive, because that's how we solve a problem. That's how we move forward. He posted, I won that fight on IG. That's Scott Sadin. Really? I'm sure he got a lot of negative feedback, and I don't know. Does anybody out there think he won the fight? Okay, if you think Kron won the fight, put K. If you think Cub Swanson won the fight, put C for Cub. Okay, let's see. Does anybody give me a K? Now, be honest now. Okay, I'm not getting any votes here. What's going on with you guys? 665 people in the chat room. I know it's a late night one, guys. Hell no. Kron lost. Cub. I got 1K from Omri Atias. He's probably just dog. He's probably C. Everybody's Cub all day. Guys, I saw it the same way. I got 1 Kron Gracie vote. 2 Kasim Kron Gracie. I think this is just probably trolling me. Okay, guys. Okay, I got you. Cub. Everybody's Cub. Cub won that fight. He did damage on Cub's face. Yeah, he did. Okay, but listen, I'm not saying Kron didn't hit him. Kron landed 86 significant strikes. He was competitive. It wasn't an easy fight for anybody. They both fought really hard, but we got to give it to Cub. He won. He won by a significant margin, not by a little. Now, somebody had an interesting comment here. Let me just see if I can pull it back. Hold on a second. Let me see here. I had an interesting one. I had read it, but I wanted to go to the votes. Or was I? All right. So I messed it up again. Okay, my apologies. Do you think Kron could have taken Cub down if he committed to it? That's from Brandon Weber. Brandon, you know what? I'll tell you something. I think he needed to set up the takedown. It's not that he didn't commit. In round 3, he shot in a double leg. He shot into the legs. He got sprawled out right away. Cub was going kind of into a limp leg, and then Kron pulled guard and just Kron, he lost the grips. He just lost the grips. Cub, just broke the grips and got up. It's not that he didn't commit to the takedown. He didn't get close enough to Cub to take him down. He didn't get close enough to get a deep grip. He didn't have the striking to get close enough to Cub. That's my opinion. Now, I don't think that he has zero wrestling. I think he shot double legs. He took Caceres down like this. He did. He body locked him, tripped him, took him down. The guy, he has some takedowns. He doesn't have elite takedowns. He has he has good takedowns. I'll even say it's good. He just doesn't have the footwork and the movement, the boxing, the speed, like not the genetic speed, but like the technical speed. When you do something a lot, you get fluid. You become more silky. You become more, how do you say, your jab kind of glides. It kind of looks effortless. It's kind of quick. You have it on a hair trigger and you kind of pump it and you kind of throw strikes in a way that's very, very fluid. And that's a technical speed because your body's in a relaxed state when you're throwing. You're more efficient when you're throwing. He just very tense and robotic. So that makes it very easy for Cub to see. There's so much telegraph. So until that's smoothed out, until the striking becomes a threat, a legitimate threat, it's very hard to distract Cub from the takedown. He doesn't have that explosiveness. Kron doesn't have that explosiveness with the hands to make Cub cover up, to make Cub, to daze Cub, to hurt Cub, to rock Cub, to stun him so that there's an opening for a takedown. I just felt that the openings were not there. He was not able to create the openings. We didn't really get a chance to see too much of his wrestling. He did one nice haragoshi, like a judo trip. He shot one takedown, but he shot it from too far. And yes, he did make technical errors on the takedown. Yes, absolutely. There was technical errors, sure. Why can't Kron take Cub down? That's from Andy Hussein. Adi Hussein. I think my answer was just my previous answer was what you're looking for. Thank you, Embed. The mic is fine. Thank you, sir. Would you train Kron? That's from Papalu. Absolutely, with open arms. I would love to train Kron. Hopefully, he's my only prerequisite is he's a nice person. He's a good guy. That's I always tell guys, if you train Tristar, you have to have a good attitude. That's it. That's your fee. If you have a good attitude, you can stay. If you have a bad attitude, you got to leave. So I'm hoping he has a good attitude. And if he ever wants to come to Tristar, he's more than welcome. Kron needs to learn some chain wrestling because his takedowns were sloppy and put him at a disadvantage. That's from Jibril. Jibril, did he ever grab on to Kron? He never got even a lock on Kron's legs. How could he chain wrestle? There's nothing to chain to. Every time he grabbed Cub Swanson, the grip was flimsy. You need a grip to go to the next one. Like if you don't have the first initial grip, how are you going to go to the next maneuver? So we never got a chance to see him chain wrestle. You're right in a way though. When he did do that judo trip, there was no follow-ups. Like he should have followed up. He should have entangled the legs together. He should have rolled to a knee bar. At least keep the magic going. At least keep the grappling going. Do something. He should have. You're right though. And on the haragoshi, he should have stepped over to the other side. Like he should have kind of went for the back. Like do something. Even roll into armbar for goodness sake. Like keep the grappling going. You're right. He kind of did a haragoshi, threw one big shot, and then kind of let it go. He kind of just stayed there. Where if I was in round 3, I know I need to sub the guy, or I shouldn't say me, any grappler, I think would be like, you know what, I need to sub the guy. Let me go to whatever second move. I can't just let this guy off the hook. Now, look, that's experience. I think he'll get the experience. He'll go back to the drawing board. He'll look at his fight and be like, you know what? I should have went to this move, that move. I should have kept fighting. Because at one point, he did get cut down to his knees in the kind of like in the dogfight position. There's a lot of maneuvers to follow up there. You know, he had the whizzer. He had the overhook. He should have tried something, but he didn't. He just kind of did one strong Harai trip and just kind of relaxed a bit, you know? I think he needed to work hard there because time was running out. What else we got here? Has Khabib ever utilized much BJJ? That's from Hammer of Witches. Absolutely. Everything he does on the ground is grappling, BJJ, sambo. Look, it's all pretty much the same. You know, all the techniques he does, I do as well. Like, we all drill these things. He just has a particular style, but these are very well-known maneuvers. Very well-known maneuvers. Kron smoking a joint. That's from Monkey D. Luffy. Well, I don't know about that, but he did that. He did have that iron chin of the Diaz brothers. You know, he did have that iron Diaz brother chin. I don't know if that's the secret. I don't know if the green is the secret. That I don't know. Assalamu alaikum, coach. For a 9-year-old boy, in your opinion, is it the best to start BJJ or wrestling? That's from Dean Black. Do both. Do both, my friend. Guys, I want to keep the topic on Kron versus Cub. When that's done, we'll move on to anything. You guys can ask me absolutely anything. But let's continue on Kron versus Cub. When I feel you guys have had enough, we'll move on to other questions, other topics. Kron's wrestling isn't where it needs to be. That's from the Sonoran. Yeah, I think, we can all agree on that. Stephen Hartley. Khabib, Kimura, Michael Johnson. So, yes, that's good. That's a good point. Ben Askren said jiu-jitsu doesn't have takedowns. That's from RH Rocky. Well, I'll tell you something, guys. Let me give you a little jiu-jitsu history. Jiu-jitsu it did have takedowns. It does. Not listen. I think we used to have a move called the Bayana. The Bayana. If you guys know that move, if you guys know what I'm talking about, your jiu-jitsu goes back in the day. You're doing jiu-jitsu 20 years ago. You've been in jiu-jitsu a long time. The Bayana was like this weird. They used to do this thing like a double leg, but it was just kind of a weird double leg. It was like a goof. It was a good double leg. It'll take down a regular guy, but it wasn't like a pristine double leg series like you have in wrestling. Where you have a variety of double legs that fit particular situations. But we did have a Bayana, and then we had, of course, the body lock, and it wasn't super sophisticated, but it'll get the job done on a guy who doesn't know how to defend takedowns. He's a striker. He's a kickboxer. It'll get the job done. However, we have masters of takedowns. We have judokas, Greco, freestyle, collegiate wrestlers. I mean, we have this huge arsenal of technique. We got to master it. You absolutely have to master it. I love takedowns. I do takedowns. I do a lot of takedowns in a year. I'm huge on takedowns. When we do jiu-jitsu class, like people say, when's the wrestling? Jiu-jitsu class is also the wrestling. We start with wrestling technique, then we do jiu-jitsu technique, then we wrestle. We do jiu-jitsu with wrestling. We do a lot of wrestling. It is very important. We have wrestlers come in the gym, like guys who just wrestle, and we go to the wrestling club as well, so there's a lot of wrestling going on in Montreal. And why wouldn't you wrestle? There's no reason. Honestly, there's just no reason. All right, let's see what else we got here. Mateo Morales says, everybody wants to talk about Kron's grappling, but what about his striking? I saw sloppy but precise punches. It was very odd. His footwork seemed a little bit off as well. How could his strikes both be sloppy and precise? That's kind of weird. I don't know what you mean by that. Okay. What was good about Kron striking? Well, I'll tell you something. He is tough. He's taking hard shots from Cub, and he's not hesitating. Let me tell you something. Very few guys have guts like that. Very few. He has an incredible chin, incredible heart. Now, if he can improve his head movement, that would be fantastic. That would make me happy. Because there's no need to take that many strikes. And he's walking into them. Listen to me. Let me tell you guys something. When you walk forward into a punch, it's way worse than if you're like kind of standing your ground and you get tagged. It's way worse walking forward into the opposite direction of the punch. And that happened quite a bit in their fight. Now, I think I know what you mean by they were sloppy but precise. I think what you mean they were sloppy but still strong. Kron looks strong to me. Like when he was punching, don't get me wrong, they were not explosive strikes. They were not. However, there was still a strength to him. You could tell he's a good athlete. If he had he could develop into a good boxer. He can develop into a good striker. He could. There's a potential there. It's coming. I think he's going to get better at punching. However, there was also a lot of, I call it drag. You know, when you punch and you're very stiff, like your tricep is extending, your bicep should be turned off because the bicep is just a brake. Okay, so my bicep doesn't move my arm forward. My bicep only pulls my arm back. So my tricep, my chest fires forward, and then my bicep pulls it back. Okay, now the more striking experience I have, the more I'm going to relax my bicep. And then you're going to see this very fluid punching. And my bicep's only going to turn on the pullback. And then my tricep's going to relax. Okay, they're antagonists. The tricep and bicep they flex in opposite directions. Somebody with a lot of drag, like I like to say, that they punch, but their tricep is firing, but their bicep is also firing. So it's like you're in your car, you're pushing the gas and the brake. So you get like this punch that's kind of like, it's very, very, very tight. And that comes that fluidity, that turning off the bicep, turning on the tricep at the right time, and then switching it. It's not a rational thing. It's just something that happens with reps. That's why it's very true also with jiu-jitsu. Some guys, you see them when they roll, it's like I call them they're mat gliding. You know, like they roll, but they're gliding on the mat. They're not even they're not like tanks. These guys, it's like a bird. He's flipping from one side. He's like surfing a wave. That's a very beautiful jiu-jitsu. How do you get to that? Well, you got to do a lot of jiu-jitsu. You got to really do a lot of jiu-jitsu. And then all of a sudden, you're saving so much energy because the way you move is so intelligent, so efficient that you're gliding across the mat. There's no head-to-head clash. There's none of this pushing and pulling and squeezing and scratching and clawing. No, the guy's just flip-flopping. He's sliding like a snake around his opponent, just wrapping him up and choking him out. This is something amazing to watch. And you could see a huge difference between a purple belt and a black belt because the way they move, you know, that fluidity is really something it's really amazing. And he has to develop that fluidity in his punching like he has it in his grappling. Kron should learn Muay Thai. That's from Kazan. I would agree. You know, I think Muay Thai would help. Okay, we got a super chat. Thank you for making it about Kron. If you were in charge of Kron's fight camp, what would you train from week to week? From week to week, 10. I think you mean 10 weeks out. And what would your strategy be? Oh, that's a tough one. You know, I need more than 10 weeks to prep him. I'll be honest with you. Because he's really like... He's really, really, really like he needs to develop some skills. Now imagine you're training kicks for 10 weeks. You think you're just gonna go in the fight thinking you can kick, but maybe your kicks not gonna come out so well. I'll tell you what I would do. Let's say look, you gave me a nice math problem. Let's say he had only 10 weeks. I would do very little jiu-jitsu, very little, because his jiu-jitsu is on tight. Like he's been doing it since a kid. I would do wrestling drills. Key wrestling drills and lots of head movement. I feel like he could have slipped a shot or two and body lock Kron, shot into Kron's legs. I would have done kicks, but very simple kicks, like basically low kicking, like punching into a low kick. If he backs away from you, low kick him. I would have kept it simple because we only have 10 weeks. Simple is good. And I would have made him do a lot of wrestling. And I would have given him a strategy that I wouldn't want to give away right now, but I still wouldn't be confident in just 10 weeks. I think we could make a big difference, but Cub is so much more experienced. It will be a difficult mission, but listen, I would make him wrestle, and we would do lots of head movement and footwork. That we can make a huge difference in 10 weeks. Of course, we're going to do a lot of punching, but I think he did do a lot of punching up into the fight. What he didn't do, in my opinion, what I would think, there's not a lot of head movement and there was no kicking. So I think I want to try to add that to his game. Hopefully it will make a difference. Do you think rubber guard is the most effective guard for MMA? That's from HYM. I wouldn't say it's the most effective guard. I would say, look, all the guards are effective. It's just how do you use them? Like, you could be a world champion using rubber guard. You could be a world champion using butterfly guard. You could be a world champion using close guard. Like, I think they're all good. It's like, do they fit your personality, your style, your physical attributes? Like, if you have super flexible hips, I think rubber guard really makes sense. I don't have super flexible hips. I have good flexibility in my hips, but I'm not one of those guys with crazy legs. And if I were to stretch 8 hours a day, it would take away from my wrestling and my jiu-jitsu and my striking. It would take just too much time to get that flexible. You know? So I've tried it. Believe me, I've been on stretching programs. I've improved my flexibility, but I'm still not one of those guys who like puts the leg behind their head, you know? I've done lots of stretching, and I felt my joints were starting to hurt, so I kind of eased up on it. I just felt like maybe it's past, you know, maybe that's flexibility I should develop when I was really, really young. Thoughts on Gracie politics not letting Cub train at Gracie schools? That's from Kaizen. Well, Kaizen, I'll tell you something. I totally understand the politics. Listen, I train under the Gracies as well. Okay, so I train with Renzo Gracie. Would I train Cub Swanson to fight Kron? I'll be honest with you. You guys are not gonna like my answer, okay? But I personally wouldn't. Why? Because he's Renzo's nephew, you know, and I respect Renzo immensely. I would tell, let's say, a fighter, not just Cub, any fighter, if he's not a fighter that's training with me already, I wouldn't go against Renzo. You know, I would really make sure that, like, I would tell the guy, look, come back after you're not fighting Kron. However, if it was a fighter that's already established, he's training with me for a while, a long time, he's somebody I know, he's already done training camps with me, Renzo would understand that, you know, that's my student. You know, like, for instance, Rory fought Neiman Gracie. Now listen, Renzo was in the opposite corner. I was in one corner and he was in the opposite corner. When I saw him at the weigh-in, I gave him a big hug. We chatted. Like, I have the utmost respect for that man. You know, he taught us. Without him, we were just squeezing heads. You know, he trained John Denahar. John Denahar trained me and the whole Tristar crew. These guys are our trainers. And I know him personally. Like, when I see him, I know, you know, we know each other. So I would never go against Renzo. But I think he understands, look, the whole family, like the Tristar family, the Gracie family, the Renzo Gracie Academy, like, we're going to meet each other. We're going to see each other, you know, in fights because we're training around the clock. And we're his students. We're all Renzo's students. We're all of us. Like it or not, we're all the Gracie students. Like, I'm happy with the Gracies. I love the Gracies. I think they're great people. However, some people have like this disdain. Oh no, the Gracies. Dude, they taught everybody. The Gracies taught everybody. There are very few people that have been trained and they're outside the lineage of Gracie. When I say everybody, I mean, okay, let me say 85% of the grappling world was influenced by the Gracies. You know, don't take that statistic in black and white. I'm giving you my off the top of my head, my estimation. But I would say the vast majority of UFC champions, UFC competitors, train under somebody who trained under somebody. They're basically, their lineage is traced back to the Gracies, to Maeda, to Kano. There are very few guys outside that line. I'm telling you, very few. Why will we not just say, hey, the Gracies taught us? Why are some people, it's funny how some attitudes have, some people are upset. They don't like their trainer. It's weird. It's really absurd. Me, I love my trainers. All my trainers. I'm super close with all my trainers. I have the utmost respect for all my trainers. When I go to the Renzo Gracie Academy, I'm thrilled. I'm happy. I feel very privileged to be there. I show the utmost respect to everybody there. Like, I love this place. I don't understand how sometimes students come in with that chip on their shoulder. They're like, oh yeah, my trainer, I have to come see him and I'm going to roll and I hate this place. And it's like, dude, why do you come here? Why? They want to challenge their trainer. I always found that a bizarre attitude. They always want to betray their trainer. They always want to fight. They want to leave they want to go to the rival school and prove to their trainer. Like, I don't understand. Like, I never understood this mentality. And for those of you who don't know the Gracies, man, they're not all, okay, there are some bad seed Gracies for sure, 100%. But like, for instance, the Renzo Gracie Academy, they're super welcoming. They're super friendly, especially Renzo, man. If you guys have ever met Renzo, he's the most lovable human being. Like, he's a really sweet human being, especially like, okay, I'm talking about in his academy. He's very hospitable. He's extremely passionate about jiu-jitsu. He comes in and he teaches and he helps us out. Like, he's a great instructor, great master, great coach, phenomenal guy. What else we got here? The way of the Sith. Fox's Fitness. Fox knows about the Sith. That's right. There are some students like this. This is true. Coach, would Ortega beat Kron? That's from Ruben Matamoros. Well, now you're going to get me in trouble. Now you're going to start a feud. Listen, I'm not going to make a comment on that. All I'm going to say is be a good fight. But I don't think they will fight each other. I think this would be a friction in the family. Too much friction. You know what? It would be smart if Kron went and trained with Ortega. I think that would be smart because he has access to. It's in his region. He knows the Henner and Hoyler. Henner and Huron. And I'm sure they'll be happy to lend him a hand. Met Henzo randomly in Cambridge, Mass. Gave him directions. Was super friendly. Acted like he knew me. Invited me to New York, etc. That's from James Wagner. That's how Henzo is. Henzo's the best guy. Listen, you meet Henzo for 5 minutes, you feel like your family. Like you feel like you know the guy forever. He's a great human being. Very, very friendly guy. What else we got here? Audio 3027. Does that mean Gonziha? Is that good? You mean the audio is doing good? I hope it's doing good. You know me. All right, we got nearly 1,000 people in the chat rooms. This is pretty cool. Let's keep it up. Classy Nasty, hit that like button. Well, Classy Nasty, hit that like button. I appreciate that. You know, I was telling myself, man, I gotta stop asking you guys to hit the like button. I don't know why I say that. I just hear other YouTubers say that, then I say it. It's like they know if they like it, they're gonna hit the like button. I just don't know how to sign off. I'm like, you gotta sign off. What do you do? Video output low. Uh-oh. There's a button pusher somewhere. YouTube is not receiving enough video. Oh no. Oh no. Hold on, guys. I'm trying to turn off other programs I have on. Hopefully that'll make it better. Okay, we're still in the red. Audio not in sync. Well, you button pushers tell me how to fix that. Okay, guys, there was a lag. YouTube is giving me like a red bar here, and I believe that's why there's a lag. I forget to like. Please remember. That's from Jao. Okay, so I'll just remind you then. Okay, guys, I'm in the red here, so I'm just giving it a minute till the stream's green again. I don't even know if you guys can hear me now. This kind of sucks. I gotta call my internet company. My internet has been lagging, actually. I don't know why. I pay for the fastest internet in the game. Like I told them, what's the fastest? Give me that. They're like, oh, this cable, we're gonna bring. I said, bring the cable. Bring the best cable you got. They're like, yes, sir, we're gonna bring your cable. Now you have it in your zone. And now look at this. All right, guys, I'm gonna keep going unless you guys tell me you can't hear me. Like I'm gonna hopefully it's gonna go green again. It's still red. Coach, how about Charles Brox Oliveira? A very under discussed BJJ Muay Thai game. I'm not sure who that is. Charles Bronx Oliveira? Or you mean Charles Oliveira? Who's Bronx? Hold on, let me look that up. All right, Charles. Oh, you mean Charles Oliveira? I didn't know his. Yeah, no, he's great. Charles Oliveira. I don't know what do you mean by Bronx. I'm not sure what that means. Very under discussed BJJ Muay Thai game. Listen, he's a famous fighter. He's very well known. He's a great guy. He's a great competitor. But we're not talking about him today. We're talking about Kron Gracie versus Cub Swanson. So I want to keep on the topic. All right, I got a green bar again. Hopefully it stays. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. I don't know if I red bar again. Okay, guys, in case it's still recording and still working, I'm going to keep going here. At what age should a child learn jiu-jitsu? You're fine. Okay, thank you, Mitch. Let's continue on Cub versus Kron. Unless you guys want to switch topic. We've been doing 50 minutes on Cub versus Kron. Was Kron's loss an issue or of technique or tactics? Full Fortune. That's from Full Fortune. Full Fortune wants to know. Was it a question? Was Kron's loss a question of technique or tactics? I think it was both. But his tactic was the best for what he had. But it could have still been better. I shouldn't say it's the best. It was good for what he had, what he brought to the table. Did he have the guts to follow the game plan? He proved that he did. That was amazing to me. That's really what I took the most. I think he needs more tools to come up with more sophisticated tactics is what I mean. I think with what he had, he did the best tactic he could. Because I don't think he has other things like back fist. I don't think he has low kicks. I don't think he has elbow and knee. I don't think he has these other techniques. Like the first kicks he started with, like kicking the knee of Cub Swanson. That's like old school Gracie Jiu-Jitsu striking 101. You know, I don't think it's bad. I think it's good. But we need to build on that. You know, that can't be the core of it can't be the only strike you got. The only kick you got, I should say. Hi, coach. In a fight, one must be ruthless and completely confident. At the same time, one must be open to advice and stay humble. Example, listen to his coach. In your experience, how should one balance the two? Listen, you got to be confident, but how much trust you have in your coach, that's how much you should listen to him. You know, how good is your coach? How smart is your coach? How experienced is your coach? How knowledgeable is your coach? The more knowledgeable and experienced, the more I trust what he says. You know, if my coach is green, I don't trust him too much. Like I'll listen to him. You know, I'll give the weight of his words what I think his credibility is. Sometimes I hear cornermen in the octagon. I'm thinking these guys. Sometimes I think, oh, guy's really smart. He's very intelligent. Sometimes I think the guy's less experienced than the fighter sitting on the stool. Like, why is the fighter listening to this guy? Maybe the fighter doesn't have access to a higher level coach. Maybe he kind of like parted from with his old coach and now he found someone else to help him out. Like for instance, I think of Diego Sanchez. His last fight, he brought in some guy where I can't remember what craziness he said in the octagon between rounds, but I thought it was absurd. And Diego Sanchez is a highly experienced fighter. Why does he have this guy in his... Look, I'm not trying to hate on the guy. I don't know the guy. I don't know his backstory too much. You know, I saw some videos of them training together. I saw some videos of him demonstrating what he does, and I thought it makes no sense. Why does Diego Sanchez have this man in his corner? I can't remember what he said. He said something so... I remember being there live and hearing him say what he said in the corner. I was like, what is this man talking about? I can't remember. Does anybody remember what he said? It was something so absurd. I can't remember what he said between rounds. Crack the coconut, Diego. Evan Torrens, you deserve a medal. Guys, I'm going to praise Evan Torrens for a second here. This man not only has a great memory, he remembers epic one-liners, and he's paying attention during fights. Evan Torrens, you deserve a medal. Give yourself a pat on the back here. Crack the coconut, Diego. Maybe that was code for something. Maybe. But what does he mean by crack the coconut? I don't know. Maybe it was in the bottom in guard and he's like, break the coconut. Break the coconut. I don't know. I just found that really weird. Maybe it was code. Maybe it was brilliant. Maybe it's something so brilliant. I don't know. But I did see him demonstrate. The guy in Diego Sanchez corner, he was demonstrating some movement on the bag. There was this banana bag, like this long bag, and he was rocking it back and forth, and he was kind of like zipping by, like as the bag was zipping by him, he would kind of like he would kind of walk through the bag, where as the bag was swinging back and forth, he would kind of walk by it and kind of like spin around. He was kind of like dancing with the bag, so to speak. And I was like, that's totally ridiculous. Like anybody can do this. Like, where's the skill? Where's your display of skill? You haven't even hit the bag. You haven't elbowed it. You haven't. Show us what your skill is. And he was kind of like moving around the bag, like snake. Like it was absurd. Like I don't mean to criticize the guy. I don't know. Maybe he's a brilliant teacher. I don't know. But he could also be a guy who doesn't know much. and he's all image. And why is a skilled, highly seasoned fighter like Diego has some epic wins in the octagon. He has some epic wins in the octagon. Now, his last performance was not his best. He was fighting Michael Chiesa, if I remember. That was his last fight. Very difficult fight. He moved up to welterweight. Very, very difficult fight in Michael Chiesa. Chiesa had a great night, dominated Diego. But listen, he's no easy fight, man. But he didn't look at his best for that one. So I'm not sure why he seemed to be working with a guy who Diego seems to be a lot more experienced than him. I think we know snake oil. That's from Mitch Basement. Well, could be, when you have a coach, you gotta have the coach. You gotta have a good, legitimate reputation. He is a movement coach, obviously. That's from Ziri. I'm not sure if he's a movement coach. From what I understand, he's a military coach who teaches fighting in the military. But again, I remember seeing a promo video that Diego tweeted, and it was like a huge army reciting some kind of oath or something, and then a picture cuts to his trainer in the gym with a few guys, but never you had the trainer and the soldiers at the same time, the massive amount of soldiers. You never had them together, so it's kind of cutting to the soldiers doing these exercises, and then cutting to him and his trainer in the gym with just a couple of guys, and then cut back to the soldiers. And it's he's trying to associate the two in this video, but why can't I see a clip of the soldiers obeying this guy's command? That would be more convincing. They're giving him credibility. This guy, we put our lives in this man's hands. He knows how to guide us through a war. But we never saw that. So it kind of gave me a suspicious, I didn't see anything of substance the whole week I was there. I was trying to see. I was intrigued. Who's this new trainer that Diego's praising so high? And, we saw the result. Nice haircut, Coach Naiman. That's from Anas. Thank you, my friend. I did shave my hair. Thank you, sir. What else we got here? Coach, thanks for your recommendation of the Plant Paradox. Fascinating read. I'm giving it a go right now. That's from Dan Dunahi. Thank you, Dan. I did learn a lot from that book. It is a fantastic book. I'm glad you're enjoying Plant Paradox. Can Kron become champion? That's from MMA 101. Listen, it can. It's possible. He showed the heart of a champion. That's for sure. He showed the will of a champion. Now, can he show us the diversity a champion needs? Or the tools a champion needs? He still needs some tools, even though he has already many. Do you agree with Cub's advice for Kron for being humble and learning from other camps versus staying with your crew clan that Kron abides by? That's from Keve. Keve, that's an interesting question. Listen, I think there's a happy medium. For instance, let's say I'm training with Renzo Gracie and John Danaher. I personally would not train at Unity, even though I have friends at Unity. I personally wouldn't train at Marcelo Garcia, even though I have trained with Marcelo because I was invited once upon a time to go train there, and I went there because I had a private session with Marcelo, and I knew John wouldn't care, but I'm not going to go and represent the school and train there on a regular basis. Now, I train with various jiu-jitsu academies around the world. However, I will never go to my trainer's school in his area and train with his competitors. I understand business, okay? Renzo in New York is the king of New York. I'm not going to go in New York to his competitors in New York. It wouldn't make sense because now I'm basically promoting their school. I'm basically help build their school. I'm paying into their school. I find it's disloyal. However, if I were to travel to LA or Florida or wherever and I train with anybody, any academy, any dojo, he wouldn't care. They would not care. I could train absolutely anywhere under the sun. And I don't have any rules. They never told me, hey, don't train with our... They never said that. I just know common sense. For instance, I have students. If they go train with my competitors, I would feel you know what? That's kind of weird. The same way my student would feel weird if I was training the guy he's competing against. Think about that. Imagine you walk in the dojo and you're prepping for a fight and you see a guy that you're going to have to fight one day. Like he's in your bracket, he's in your weight category, he's in the same league as you, and your coach is like, yeah, well, he pays, he's gonna pay me. You're like, man, my trainer's a snake. A relationship works both ways. I would never build the competitors of my trainer, and I'm assuming my trainer would never build my competitors. Okay, so that's just common sense. I just use common sense. I've never had a problem with loyalty. Now, if I was Kron, I'd be like, hey guys, we're family, we're blood brothers, or whatever you want to call it. We're loyal to one another. But look, I'm gonna go to New York. I'm gonna go to wrestle in I don't know, the Hawkeyes. I'm gonna go out and branch out and bring it back. Help build our school. This is in my opinion makes a lot of sense. Come to Tristar for a couple of months. Well, maybe not Tristar because they hate George St. Pierre, and they're not my biggest fans. Let's just say they're not big fans of mine. But whatever, find the place where it makes sense for you. That it's not a correct competition to your school, but you need to go out there. There's a lot out there, and I encourage my students. Yeah, go train with that guy. Go spend 2 weeks with that guy. Go train at Ryan Hall's. Go train at this guy's gym. Go train Braulio Estima. Of course. Oh, you're traveling to there for business. Make sure you go see one of my black belt buddies there. Expand your horizon. Nobody knows everything. So, in my opinion, be loyal, but don't be like this cultic following, over the top, we drink the Kool-Aid type guy. We can't go too far. Cejudo versus 6'9" bodybuilder. Cejudo, that's from Guhman Zab. Guhman, you put too much trust and weight in bodybuilding, but I've trained with many bodybuilders. They're not super strong. I mean, they're strong, but they're not they don't do well on the mat, They don't do well in boxing either. Don't get me wrong, they're strong because also they're on a lot of steroids. Give me a natural bodybuilder, there's nothing to talk about. A bodybuilder on steroids, yeah, they're tough. They are tough, because they're big and strong. They're so juiced up. But, I mean, they don't perform super well. Nothing better than a late night chat with Coach Zahabi. That's from George G. George G, thank you. I see you wearing a blue belt, my friend. I see you're a member. Thank you. I appreciate that. Likewise, guys. Enjoying talking to you. Talk about marriage. That's from Hanan Zubair. Don't make me lecture you on marriage now. One of my students came up to me today. I see you got me started, Hanan. All right, guys. I think we covered the Cub versus Kron. One of my students comes today and he talks to me and he sits on the mat and I was like, I haven't seen you in a while. I was like, yeah, hasn't been going well. I said, what's going on? He says, well, I'm getting divorced. I've been going through a divorce. That's why you haven't seen me. I said, really? Now, don't forget, this is I've heard the story a million times. And I'm like, what happened? He's like, oh, I'm paying this amount. And it's been, I'm like, really? Why so much? Because this is more than usual. He's like, I know. She got a really aggressive lawyer. And I'm like, wow. I said, what happened? Did you go astray? Did you cheat on her? Did she find, did she really want to sink her teeth in, she wanted to kill you? Did you end on bad terms? He's like, no. It wasn't anything like that at all. We just kind of grew apart. And he goes, she just sucked the lawyers on me. And I was like, wow. And he's been married a long time. I don't want to say how many years, but a lot. Many, many years. Let's just say more than 20 years. Okay. I don't want to be specific. And I was like, oh, man, incredible. And it's funny because I was just lecturing one of my students before the class, talking to him about picking the right girl because he's talking about, he's getting very involved with a girl. And I pulled him off the mat. He was training. I pulled him off the mat. I said, listen to this. And he told him, he's like, yeah, this is happening to me. I said, okay, you see what I was telling you half an hour ago? And it's just bodies dropping, so many bodies dropping in the West. Marriages. Listen, find yourself a good girl and marry her. But be careful because what you guys think is a good girl is really not. You guys are so bad at picking women. It's incredible. It's mind-boggling. It's the young men I train are so naive. They're so bad at picking women. You have to pick a good quality woman and make sure your woman is very, how should I say? There's no way to say it. There's no way to say it without blowing up. How can I say it? How can I say it? When you tell her to do something, she does it. What does that mean? Somebody worded to me in a very flowery, sugar-coated way. When you ask her to do something, she does it. She's happy to do it. She's more than happy to do it, to oblige with you. All right, hold on a second. Technical difficulty. All right. Anybody have a good way to word it? Patient woman. Hold on a second. Boom. Patient woman, good cook, and you're blessed. Anas. Yeah, that's very good. That's very good. But you need a humble woman. Let's put it that way, okay? You need a very, very, very humble woman. If you don't have a humble woman, stay single. Stay single till you find her, because she's going to ruin you in the future. Maybe I'm too pessimistic. I don't know. Okay, we got a super chat. $20 super chat. Holy moly. Hi, coach. Watching you from Brazil. Big fan on your work. Do you think Kron should train more wrestling takedowns, like singles and double legs? Bringing the fight to the ground is a problem for today's jiu-jitsu fighters. Giuliano, you missed the podcast. You came in late because we did a big talk on that. Absolutely. You're 100% right, my friend. 100% right. $5 Mama Monkey. Has anyone you know recovered successfully from a cervical herniated disc and was able to train and fight again? Mama Monkey, yes. Do some research. There are surgeries in Europe that they don't do in the West. Actually, I know a number of people have had it done. So I think my friend did it in Germany. And his neck, he praises the surgery. He says his neck's never been better. They have like a special kind of they change your vertebrae with a synthetic one, but it doesn't exist in in America. I believe it was Germany. Carl Mansaro did it. Carl Mansaro is a black belt. Maybe you get in touch with him. Carl Mansaro. He's a black belt under Renzo Gracie. Check it out. He has an academy in New York. I'm forgetting now the area. I pass by it all the time. Albany. I think it's Albany, New York. And he's done it. So maybe reach out to him, ask him for the details. Also, who's the guy who fought Rich Franklin? I'm forgetting his name now. I apologize. He fought him for a world title fight. He had won the Ultimate Fighter, and then he got a shot to fight Rich Franklin. He was in a world title fight. Remind me, guys, what was his name again? Very well-known fighter. He also did it for his back. He had a really, really bad back. He went to Europe. He did this special surgery that Carl Mansaro did on his neck. It's kind of the same idea. Like, it's only in Europe, somewhere in Europe. And his back has never been better. He was telling me he could train again, etc. He was praising the surgery. Habibi Zahabi, I love you. Thank you. Likewise. All right. Super chat. Starting trading MMA 1 month ago with a strong strength fitness base. Now upping it to twice a week, now upping it to twice a day, 5 days a week. How do I know if I'm progressing all right? Should I still feel pretty incompetent at the moment? 1 month is not a long time, okay? Give it 6 months. No training program should be shorter than 6 months. So train for 6 months, then look, evaluate yourself. Ask your trainer, hey, have I been progressing faster than other students or slower than other students, and why? You know, so if your trainer has a watchful eye, hopefully he'll be able to give you some input. But 1 month is nothing, okay? Keep it up. I like your numbers. Twice a day, 5 days a week is really good. Makes sense. Keep it up and assess in 6 months. For us, have you ever been in a street fight? And if so, what strategy would you employ to be safe? Much love from Southern California. Much love, Raf, the creator. Thank you for that super chat. Yes, I have been in a street fight. I've been in. Listen, I've some of the. Listen, I would say I had 2 street fights where like we went face to face and we're fighting. But my other street fights, I would say, like, I just kind of took the guy down and just kind of mauled him, like, just held the guy down. Like, for instance, I just took some young guy down, like, recently. But I can't call it a fight. It just happened, like, 2 months ago. And the guy did something really, really bad, like, really, really illegal. And it created, like, a bit of chaos. And I hadn't seen it. I was not a witness to it, but somebody came rushing to me, complaining to me that this guy's doing this, and I went to confront the guy, and the guy was trying to, he was blowing me off, and he was trying to leave the premise, and the people of that business didn't want him to leave the premise. They were complaining this guy did something illegal, like, we have to call the police, and the guy was trying to leave the premise, and I was like, sir, sit down. Sir, you can't leave. Sir, we have to wait for the police. We have to make a report. And the guy was like, he's like, you know what? He was basically telling me, he's flipping me off. So of course, I had to take him down, and I did. And I actually did a citizen's arrest, put the guy down. It was just, the guy has no training whatsoever. He's like 6'2", or no, it's maybe like 6'1", tall guy, young kid, very young kid. But not, look, I had to take him down. When I took him down, he was so weak, he was so like frail. Like I shouldn't talk much because there's a court case for sure. Like I'm a witness to this court case. Like I have to go to court for this. And I mounted him. I put him like in a how do you call it? Which I really like in street fights, by the way, gift wrap. You know when you have the guy like this? Like I'm holding it like a seatbelt in Kimura and his arms wrapped. This high. Always in street fights I do this. Always. The best. I take a guy down and put him in a gift wrap. And there's so many ways to control a guy on gift wrap. Like I got to do an instructional video on the gift wrap. Like people don't gift wrap enough in jiu-jitsu. It's crazy. The gift wrap is one of the ultimate controls. And I think I have to do a video on just gift wrap. There's so much to know about gift wrapping, and I do it all the time when I roll, all the time at every level. It's such a phenomenal way to control a guy in no gi. It's phenomenal. In the gi too, it's great, but with no gi, it's so good. It's so strong, and I love the gift wrap. So maybe one day I'll do an instructional on the gift wrap. That would be a great video. Actually, I can really cook up a really strong video. Well, okay, what else we got here? Should have crucifixed him. I don't think I would do a crucifix. I'd probably break the guy's neck, you know. You're going to end up in jail if you put a crucifix on a guy. Like, it depends what kind of crucifix you're talking about. You're talking about like a Marcelo Garcia, I'm on your back and I got your arm crucifix? Okay, that one you choke him out, you don't break his neck. But if you're talking crucifix, like I'm folding your arms like this, like in a forward-facing power Nelson, I could break your neck. Like, mount you with that. Like, I do that in practice, but I never crank the neck. I always release the neck. Because you can break a guy's neck like this. Guman Sab, do you know 40 Sikhs fought 1 million Mongols soldiers and won? Read history book of Sikhism. Well, I'd be very shocked if 40 Sikhs, 40? I think you mean 40,000, even though against 1 million Mongols would be unheard of. Mongols never lost. The first battle the Mongols ever lost was the Battle of Ain Jalut, and they lost to the Mamluks, Turkish army. The Mamluks were a slave class, and they rose to prominence. And this slave class that rose to prominence, they were the first to ever beat a Mongol army. And this battle was the Battle of Ain Jalut. You look that up, my friend, because that is true history. Scott Sadin, what advice would you give to an aspiring pro MMA coach / trainer, currently a blue belt in BJJ and intermediate kickboxer? Well, Scott, listen, you got to get to black belt. If you're serious about coaching, you first have to reach black belt. Alfie Norik, please discuss how you overcame your symptoms from burnout. If I sleep even 1 hour less than 8 hours, my eyes hurt, foggy, and they ruined. Any advice will be appreciated. Thanks, coach. Alfie, listen, I really like, first of all, you get your sleep. Okay, so you must sleep. I really like what Stephen Grundy says in his book, Plant Paradox. Okay, Stephen Grundy says this. He says, look, skip a meal. Listen to this, okay? And this is really, really very beneficial. He says when you're sleeping, your brain, it detoxes itself, okay, purifies itself. It shrinks by about 20%. Now listen, I've never read this anywhere else, so if this is faulty science, blame Stephen Grundy, okay? He's a cardiologist. I have never read this anywhere else. It's fascinating. I believe it to be true because, I mean, the man's a cardiologist. Like I'm taking his word for it. He says your brain shrinks up to 20%. And he says that if you eat before you go to bed, your brain's not going to shrink. It's not going to shrink as much. Okay. So when it shrinks, it's like wringing out a sponge. Okay. He's giving you for instance, okay, the brain is not literally a sponge. Okay. It's not the exact same process. Let's leave the biology to the doctors and biologists. He's giving you an analogy. He's saying, look, your brain's going to rid itself of all these toxins. It's going to regenerate. Okay. Because you're telling me you're feeling foggy and eyes are hurting. I've had that too. He says, don't eat past 6. He's like, don't eat at least minimum 2 hours. He says, look, if you can do 6 hours, if you can have a really early dinner or skip dinner, he says, skip dinner once in a while. And he says, your brain now is going to get all that blood flow. It's going to be able to detox itself even further. So he says this only happens during REM sleep, which is the early part of when you sleep. So once you fall asleep, you're going to get in this deep sleep very early, and then your sleep is going to be more shallow. That process is done, okay? It doesn't need that many hours. He says, however, you won't, because it doesn't necessarily need 8 hours. Even though you should sleep 8 hours, there are other reasons why you should prolong the sleep. But you're talking about that fogginess, day ruined, energy bad, light hurts my eyes. He's saying is because you're not getting that full detox. The key is skip dinner. I stopped eating at 6. So look, you're asking me how I stopped, how I recovered from my burnout, because for those who don't know, I was diagnosed with burnout. Okay, I do too much in a day. I really do too much. And I was younger when I got diagnosed, but it's still with me. Like if I miss a day of sleep or whatnot, it's not like I used to be. When I was younger, I could miss a day of sleep and it wouldn't, like I could sleep for 2-3 hours. I'm okay. Now today, I'm there again. Like don't get me wrong, I'm there again. Like I could sleep for 3-4 hours. I'm fine the next day. I'll go wrestle. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna do it regularly because I know the dangers of burnout. But I feel like it took me many years to get to this point. Like burnout stays with you a long time. I wish I had this advice earlier. Now, I had discovered intermittent fasting before. I've fasted many times in my life. And there are other things that I use other than just fasting, okay, which we'll talk about as well. But stop eating. Like, sometimes I stop eating at 3. Sometimes I stop eating at 4. And I'm done. I'll go to train. I'm going to train at 7 o'clock at night. Like tonight, I'm just drinking water. This is just water. I'm rehydrating. That's it. No dinner for me. I just rolled. How many rounds did I do tonight? I did 7 rounds of jiu-jitsu. In the morning, I did some bag work. I did some conditioning. I did the row machine. Then I ran practice. Then I came home. I did my kids' practice. Then I went to the gym. I rolled 7 rounds. And then I finished with a little conditioning. Like, that was quite a day of training. I ate my breakfast bowl, my Dolce breakfast bowl. I ate snacks. Okay, I do the Dolce Diet up to 6. I stopped eating at 6. Today, I stopped eating at 4. Just extra 2 hours. Normally, I stop eating at 6. I stopped eating at 4. Why? Easy. Went, trained. I'll have coffee, though. Black coffee. Black coffee, water, tea is okay. So when I say fasting, we're talking about no calories. So we're talking about tea is okay, coffee, water is okay. So it's not a dry fast. And Grundy says that will detox that'll help your mind, your brain recover. Your brain gets a lot of benefit from no food in the gut. Stephen Grundy's work is very interesting. Okay, really interesting. The other thing I would mention that I think will help you, I'm forgetting the breathing exercise, which I really like as well. The Iceman, I'm forgetting his name. Wim Hof, excuse me, my apologies. Very famous Wim Hof, the man. He has some interesting breathing exercises. I bought his program online. I think it's pretty good. It's very simple. I use the simplest breathing one, the first one. I don't really get into the other ones. George loves it. St. Pierre, he does it religiously. I like it very much. I feel it revives me. It gives me energy. I feel it's amazing. Breathing is super, super important. The other interesting work I would refer you to is Dr. Wild's 8 Weeks to Optimum Health. He has some excellent material. I know it's an old book, but it's a classic. It's great. 8 Weeks to Optimum Health by Dr. Wild. I highly, highly recommend this book. All right, what else we got here? Wim Hof, thank you, Thierry. Thank you very much. Marco, be careful. You're going to get kicked out. Don't forget, I run this chat room like a dictator. Don't forget. I should just ban you for life here. Just to keep my dictator hands strong. When you back on the Joe Rogan podcast, that's from Grudge. Listen, I'm hoping to be in LA in November. So if Rogan has room for me, I'm there. Hey coach, GSP once said in Joe Rogan interview that he believes in being efficient with your energy in a fight. What does that mean by this? Big fan of your work. Thank you, Danny. Listen, when you roll a lot, when you box a lot, when you grapple a lot, you start knowing where you can rest, what positions you can rest, what situations you can rest. Instead of throwing that kick, what, let me hold it back because it doesn't do anything to throw it right now. You start getting wiser. And that takes a lot of time in the field. A lot of the time wrestling. A lot of times, like if a guy shoots on you and he doesn't have a good grip, you're like, you know what, I don't have to fight super hard. He doesn't have a good grip. Let me just kind of like shift my weight, and I feel like he can't get nowhere. And that kind of efficiency saves little pockets of energy. Like instead of burning 20 calories extra by squeezing his wrist and pulling, it's like, why do that? He doesn't have anything. You start knowing when there's a danger and when there's not, and you know when to relax and when to work. So if the guy's mounted on me, I got to work, like spend your energy, like you're in danger here. But, if the guy's in my guard and I win the first 2 rounds and the guy's like, he's trying to pass, but his pass is totally shut down, like it's not there. Why should I spend so much energy? Let me just take a couple of breaths, and then maybe I shoot a triangle in transition. It depends on the situation, right? You're not just fighting tooth and nail. You're assessing the situation and you're making decisions accordingly that make sense, because I want to save energy. I want to break my opponent. I want my opponent to overspend his energy. I want him to fatigue. And then when he's fatigued, I'm going to go for the kill, right? But if I'm wasting my energy on, let's say I have a takedown and the grip is very flimsy, I can spend a lot of energy trying to make something out of a weak grip and burn myself out. Or I can reset, let it go and reset. The guy who lets go and resets and tries again to grab a good grip and spend energy on a good grip, he's going to save a lot of energy in a fight. Okay, what else we got here? More super chats. Hey coach, what advice can you give a 24-year-old guy that's starting MMA? Also, are there any great MMA gyms you can recommend in Toronto? In Toronto. Well, we got my boy RJ. It used to be called the Grant Brothers Gym. I'm not sure what it's called anymore. I think they took away the name. I think they changed the name from Grant Brothers Gym. I'm not sure what it is. But go check out RJ. He's a great trainer. Okay, this is from Koku. 1 month white belt here. Did my first submission the other day thanks to your side escape arm lock tutorial. Glad to hear that. LOL, got that blue belt angry. Cheers, coach. Oh, you got the blue belt angry. Armbar the blue belt. Well, good job, my man. Happy Kuko to hear that my instructional helped you out. That's great news, man. Congratulations. Coach, when are you coming to Chicago? Hamide. The next time there's a UFC there, I imagine. Regarding your diet, do you mostly keto or regularly carbs, or eat carbs regular? That's from C-Pro. I eat carbs. I'm a carb eater. I love carbs. Like, I'll eat all the carbs in the world. If you train in a glycogenic sport like MMA, like jiu-jitsu, like wrestling, you have to eat carbs. You must eat carbs. Like, I'm not crazy about ketogenic diets. Like, don't get me wrong. I think it's good for some people. I'm not one of those guys who like never do keto. I'm not one of those guys. Do I do keto? No, I don't. I don't think it's bad. I think I could. Like, I've done keto in the past. I've experimented with it. I've done carb timing things where like you're keto, but when you train, you eat carbs. I got really lean on it. I felt good. I did feel good. Was it optimal for me? I wouldn't say yes. Like, listen, I get it. Eating greens and small amounts of protein makes sense. Like, I'm all for it. I like it. There's many benefits to this. One benefit is testosterone. Okay, if you eat too many not natural carbohydrates, but if you eat too many sugars, like I see people eat so much sugar. And I'm guilty of that too. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, I can go to town on a cake, muffins, Tim Hortons, donuts. But that's only once in a while. I do that once in a while. I don't eat that regularly. I don't eat that daily. Okay. Refined sugars lower testosterone. You don't want refined sugars. Okay. So when I'm talking about carbs, I'm talking about like quinoa, rice, oats, oatmeal. I'm a big oatmeal fan. Like, I love the Dolce Diet breakfast bowl. That's like the number one thing to eat for breakfast. Like, I love the oatmeal. Okay. But again, I'm training in a glycogenic sport. I'm rolling, I'm wrestling. And the thing is with carbs so carbs will make the fat cell bigger, but also makes your muscle bigger. So if you don't eat a lot of carbs, and you're natural, your muscles are going to you're going to shrink. Like if you go on a no carb diet and you're like, you know what, I don't care about jiu-jitsu, I don't care about boxing, I just want to lose fat. Well, guess what? You're also going to lose muscle because you're not spiking your insulin, and you don't want to spike your insulin for nothing. Yeah, I want to spike my insulin when I'm working out. I want to go pump weights. Let's say you just want to get big. You got to eat carbs. You don't want to eat too many carbs, but you're going to go pump weights for real. Like we're talking about really going to work out. You need carbs before, during, and after. Okay. Now, how much carbs? That's up to you. You gotta figure out how hard are you training. If you're getting fat, you're eating way too many carbs. If your muscles are not growing, you're eating too little carbs. So for me, like I already have a trouble putting on muscle. Think about that. Like because I roll so much, I train so much that the muscles, like I'm not getting huge. You can't get jacked grappling 7 rounds a day. If I went keto and I rolled 7 rounds a day and I just ate enough carbs to roll, I would lose muscle. I would lose muscle for sure. So me, I roll, I box, then I lift weights. But I eat carbs before. Like I should even drink carbs right like after practice. I should drink carbs and lift weights if I really wanted to get muscular. But if I cut out the carbs, I'll lose muscle like this, like really quickly. So in my opinion, look, there is the right amount of carbs. There is the right amount. It has to reflect the sport and the amount of that sport. So if you're telling me, look, I'm just a regular Joe and I go for long walks, that's my sport, I'll be like, don't eat too many carbs. Like you shouldn't eat much carbs. You don't need carbs. Just greens and a little bit of proteins and plant foods. You'll be fine. You'll be very healthy your whole life. However, if you're like, coach, I go slam the weights. I train 2 times a day on the weights, 45-minute sessions. I want to get huge. You need carbohydrates. Unless you're on steroids. A lot of these guys, they eat carbs right before their weight training session and they pump a lot of juice in their system and they're getting huge. Yeah, they're getting huge because they got 10 times the testosterone in their system. Of course they're going to get huge. But in a glycogenic sport like boxing, wrestling, MMA, you need carbohydrates. Get to know your carbs, guys. Get to know your carbs. You have different type of carbs. They all have a place. There's no bad carb except like refined sugar. Like processed sugar, that's bad. I gotta tell you, that's bad. If you never ate that in your life, you wouldn't have a problem. Like it's not bad. It's a good thing. However, if we go from green carbs to then fruit, and then imagine a spectrum. Okay, you have green carbs on one end, and then you have rice on the other. So you have greens, you have fruits, then you have your sweet potato, and then you have on the other side, we're getting closer to the rice. We got quinoa, we got rice. Okay, let's end it there. This continuum, the greens, the greens are carbs, but you don't absorb much of them. You can eat all day long. You can eat lots. You're not absorbing anything, right? Because the fiber neutralizes the carbs that are absorbed. So you have a net. So you take the carbs minus the fiber, that's whatever's left, that's the net. That's what you absorb. It's very little in most greens. So it can't produce the energy you need for your activity level if you're in a glycogenic sport. So when you get to fruit, even fruit is not the same. Fruit is not enough. Fruit, the glycogen is stored in the liver, not in the muscle. In the muscle, I need grains. I need that potato. I need that sweet potato or rice, I should say. Even rice. Okay, sweet potato is good, but I like rice or quinoa or oats. Just how much of it do you need? If you overeat, you get fat. If you eat the right amount, you're going to get jacked. You're going to get muscular. All right, what else we got here? I think we're in 90 minutes deep. AK, Ask Me Anything 51, guys. We're at already episode 51. Why is it that wrestling, grappling doesn't build muscle even though muscles are being stimulated? That's from Tofi Ra. Well, Tofi, let's try to make this as simple as possible. Let's say you're just a fat, you're overweight, and all you did in your life was work behind a desk. And then you get into grappling and wrestling. Yeah, you'll get more muscular. You're going to lose fat and gain muscle. Why? Because your muscle's never been stimulated. So your muscle's going to grow. Your muscle has new demand. So in that instance, your muscle will grow. Now, let's say you're an ex-hockey player or an ex-football player, and you're pretty jacked. Why? You're benching, you're deadlifting, you're squatting, you're doing all sorts of plyometrics, you're playing hockey. You know, hockey is a very explosive sport. You're training basically like a sprinter. You know, you're so muscular. Your explosiveness, you're exploding for a few seconds, then taking a break. You're exploding for a few seconds, you're taking a break. So that's going to build mass. It's going to build a different type of physique. But then you go on the mats, and you're rolling 5-minute rounds. That's 25 minutes. There's so much more endurance. So an endurance athlete is going to have more muscular endurance, but less hypertrophy, hypertrophy. Why? Because you're in an endurance sport. You're spending a lot more calories. You're not as much in the ATP realm. You're not burning the same you're not stimulating the muscle in the same way. One is short and explosive. It's only lasting a few seconds. For instance, a football play or a sprint in hockey. You know, the hockey players, they rotate every 45 seconds or something like that. Or, you know, they're not in, it's more of an explosive sport than rolling slowly. Now, if you look at wrestlers, they're much more physically muscular. They're much more muscular, Why? Because their sport requires lots of physical pummeling, intense physical pummeling, shooting double legs, lifting their opponents off the ground. It's building the posterior chain. The posterior chain is the largest muscle group. Okay, so for instance, why is the posterior chain so key? The posterior chain is all the muscles you can't see when you look in the mirror. So if you look at a full body mirror, all the muscles you can't see, the ones behind you, that's your posterior chain. So in grappling, your posterior chain is not as activated as in wrestling. Because in wrestling, we're lifting, we're body locking, we're lifting up off the ground. Now, why is that so important? Well, they did an experiment once upon a time where they wanted to see how big they can get a human, like what makes a human being's bicep larger. Somebody who does bicep and tricep exercises, or somebody who does squat posterior chain exercise and bicep exercises. The group that did squatting and bicep exercises increased their bicep more than the group that did than the group who did bicep exercises and tricep exercises. And the reason why is they realized that when you train the posterior chain, the largest muscle group in the body, it produces more testosterone. And testosterone aids in the growth of muscle. So for instance, if I'm training a sprinter or a football players are sprinting. The average play is like 3 or 4 seconds. They're exploding for 3 or 4 seconds, and then they get a 45-second break. The calories per second spent in those few seconds are far greater. So the greater the intensity of the sport, the more muscle it'll build. Why? Because the more testosterone is released. So when you do a heavy squat, how long is a rep? 3 or 4 seconds. It could be even shorter than that, depending what kind of style of squatting you're doing. How long does an Olympic lift last? Just a handful of seconds. And actually, the part where the bar explodes on Olympic lift is 1.5 seconds. 0.5 seconds of tension on the hamstrings. It's so intense. Greater release of testosterone. So now you're anabolic. You're building muscle. Wrestlers are their matches 3 2-minute rounds. So they're going at a high pace. Grapplers sometimes it's 1 20-minute round, depending on the format. Okay, sometimes it's 1 6-minute rounds. It's much more endurance based. Now here's a scary statistic. Marathon runners, they test the testosterone of marathon runners. Now we said if your sport is short and explosive, you're gonna have more testosterone. These marathon runners, some of them, they're all low testosterone. There's a lot more to know, because they build so much cortisol. When you train for long hours, you build cortisol. Cortisol suppresses testosterone. Okay, inflammation. If you have a lot of inflammation, you produce a lot of cortisol. If you produce a lot of cortisol, suppresses testosterone. These runners that are running so far, so long, these marathon runners, they're creating so much inflammation, hence so much cortisol, hence the killing the testosterone. Some of them's testosterone is so low, it's as low as a castrated male. I'm going to say that again. For those of you who are avid runners, let this go into your ears, because I don't believe in long running. I don't think you should run long. You should only do it once in a while. I do a long run once in a while. My longest run is I'll run a 5K. That for me is a long. I'll never go over 5K. I've done it before. Like I've done a 17K just for fun because I was at a family vacation. There was a track. It was a 17K. And my kids were on their bike. I'm like, you know what? I'll run it. They'll bike it. I did it for fun. I do a long run once in a blue moon. It's not going to hurt my testosterone. I lift weights all the time. I do a lot of short explosive exercise. Once in a while, it's okay. But however, you guys were like, oh, I'm an avid runner. I love running. It's like, dude, that's going to kill your testosterone. You don't want to kill your testosterone. I prefer you guys do short intervals, like 400-meter run, 1 minute break, 400-meter run, 1 minute break. That's going to build your cardio. It's going to build you anaerobically and aerobically as well. Why on earth would you go and run 5K 3-4 times a week? In my opinion, that doesn't make sense. I'd rather you sprint once or twice a week. I'd rather you lift weights. I'd rather you do intervals. Like, you know, if you're going to get on the Airdyne, you're going to do 30 seconds hard, 30 seconds easy for 10 minutes. That's good. That's great cardio. It's intense. You're building muscle. Don't be one of those guys who's so scrawny, so skinny. You're running every day. You're building inflammation. You're killing your joints. It's just, I know people get really religious with running. They're so religious about it. Like, for instance, boxers are like, oh, I got to run. Yeah, you're in a 36-minute fight. These fighters I'm training, they're 15-minute fight. They don't need to run 45 minutes to get ready for a 15-minute fight. It's not the same energy system. Now, don't get me wrong. I do send my fighters out for a run sometimes. I tell them, go run. But it depends. It depends on the fighters. Some fighters are so naturally explosive. They're so naturally muscular that running 5K makes sense for them. Okay, so I do make exceptions. I do make exceptions for certain athletes. Some guys, they barely can make the weight. Okay, those guys, send them for a 5K run on a regular basis. Why? Because they need it. They need to cut the weight, and they got so much muscle. They're so explosive. It's not going to hurt them. However, you take an average Joe and make him run every day, his explosion, his strength levels are going to go down. Guys, train anaerobically. 80% of the time, 20% of the time, be aerobic. That won't hurt you. 20% won't hurt you, I promise. So to answer your question, grappling is more aerobic than it is anaerobic. That's why it doesn't build as much muscle. Just getting... What? Oh my God. It skipped. My apologies, guys. Skipped. MMA goat heard of steroids. Not sure what you mean by that. So Diaz bros have low test. That's from Whiskey Dragon. No, I'm not saying that. Okay, I will never say that. I'm just saying that running, marathon running, and prolonged exposure to endurance training, long endurance training, prolonged exposure can lead to low testosterone. And then you see their bodies. You see their bodies look a little soft. Why? What happens when you run a lot long distance? You burn fat, but you also burn muscle. Then you run and you go through a kick of running. Maybe you're running for 2-3 months. You're getting great shape. And then you got to take a break. Why? Your knees are a little bit, they're inflamed. You got to take a break. You can't run all year round like this. Your knees are going to give out on you. Okay, so you go take a break. When you take a break, you're eating just as much, or you have a routine of food, and your body's calling for calories. Now you're getting fat. Okay, but when I started the cycle of running, I lost fat and I lost muscle. When I'm eating and chilling out, recovering, I'm gaining fat. I didn't gain back that muscle. So I go back running again. I lose muscle again. I'm losing muscle again. I'm losing fat again. So what? I'm chasing my tail. I'm always losing muscle. I'm going through cycles. I'm going through training camps. Let's call them cycles of training. Maybe I'm running for 3 months, then I kind of take 30 days of more relaxed. Maybe I'm swimming. I'm doing shorter runs. So I'm gaining a little bit of weight. And then I'm getting ready to run for another 3 months, really intense, break my old PR. Yeah, you're losing muscle all year. Like your muscle's going down, but your fat's going up and down. So there's going to be a time where you're going to have put on fat and lost muscle from all your training of running. If you look at marathon runners, they're not muscular. They're not strong. In my opinion, this is crazy. This is you're cursing yourself. Guys, learn about everything. Learn what increases testosterone. Do that. Learn what kills your testosterone and avoid that. So alcohol kills your testosterone. Avoid that. Refined sugars kills testosterone. Avoid that. Missing sleep kills testosterone. Avoid that. Don't mess with your testosterone. Keep your testosterone natural. Because guys, when your testosterone goes down, you age. You get old, you get sick, and you'll die. Okay? I don't want to be overly dramatic here, but you will get old. fast, you will get weak. You know, it's not healthy to have low testosterone. Okay, it's really bad. Plus, you're going to start... never mind. For us, you're a genius, a real treasure to the world, not just the athletic world. Brian Sharkey, thank you. You're making me blush. I appreciate that. Message was held for review. What is the effect of testosterone on prostate cancer? That's from... I don't know how to pronounce your name, my friend. I apologize. I don't know. Really, I couldn't say. Okay, so that's more of a question for a doctor. Cameron Haynes and David Goggins don't have low testosterone, I don't think. That's from King Kong. Let me check out who's Cameron Haynes. Cameron Haynes. Let me look that up. Cameron Haynes. Let's see, who is this character? Okay. Well, listen, I'm looking at him right now. He seems to be bow hunting. Cameron Haynes, YouTube. Dad strength. Cameron Haynes. Hold on. Or is he like an ultra runner or something? Okay, hold on. Let me check out his YouTube videos here. Oh, he's been on the Rogan show. Cameron Haynes. All right, let's see your Cameron Haynes here. I'm not familiar with this man. Let's see here. What does he do? He's a bow hunter, it seems. Oh, he's going in the weight room here. He's lifting weights. So he's bow hunting in this video. Now he's lifting weights, hitting it hard. Maybe a little bit of gear. Oh, yeah. Okay, he's not a power cleaner. He's just power cleaner. It's okay. Doing dips. Look, he looks like a guy on TRT. No offense, you know. I'm not familiar with this man. I don't want to accuse him of anything, but he does seem like he's on TRT. Why? You can tell their skin is like paper thin. Unless this man's been training his entire life. Could be. He's doing hill sprints. That's anaerobic. Excuse me. Yes, anaerobic. I saw him lifting weights in this video. I see him doing hill sprints. So yes, his physique could be natural. But I thought you were trying to tell me he's like a marathon runner. I was assuming maybe he does bow hunting and marathon running. But he's not marathon running in this video. He's doing hill sprints and lifting weights. So I mean, if he's been doing it his whole life, I can see that he's maybe natural. But if he's a marathon runner, he's jacked the way he is. If he's like an ultra marathon runner or anything like that, he's definitely on gear. You can't be that muscular and be running marathons, you know, unless you're a genetic freak, which I highly doubt. Is the beep test sufficient for cardio? That's from Sandro Cavalier. Yes, the beep test is phenomenal and very, very anaerobic. Muhammad Ali didn't juice, son. Floyd either. That's from MMA Gold. Yeah, I agree. Look, there's some people, like I wouldn't say Muhammad Ali was super ultra shredded. He was lean. He got shredded, of course, but not ultra shredded. If he lifted weights, he'd be even more shredded. Now, don't forget, he's been doing athletics since he's young. It's very different when you start training before puberty. It's totally different. You could break all the rules and get great results. You can break all the rules and get really, really good results. However, if you follow the rules, you have even better results. Okay? So yeah, Floyd Mayweather, he runs long runs and, you know, he does everything wrong. If you showed his training program, like his fitness program, he's grabbing weights and he's doing this, and you showed it to the world of exercise science, they'll be like, we can make this guy better. We could change his exercise selection and make him even better. The reason why he's so good has nothing to do with the exercises he's doing. There's nothing to do with it. It has to do with the fact that he started training at such a young age. His nervous system is wired in a way that is superior. Now, I'll give you guys a little insight, okay? Once upon a time, we did a whole assessment of George's health, and we had I don't want to say too much, you know, but we had a doctor, a neuroscientist, and he was looking at George's brain, and was like, look, there's like a highway that goes from your brain to your muscles. I forget the name. But he was like, look, George's been training he's been doing so many athletics from so young, his highway is larger than normal. Because it's like, for instance, like if you look at, he was telling us, look at a cab driver. He's got to memorize all the streets. The part of the memory, the brain that memorizes things, it's larger than normal. If you exercise something from a young age, that feedback from your muscles to your brain is faster than the average person. Why? You've been doing it for so young. So that translates to power. So it has nothing to do with his little exercise. Power didn't come from that little exercise. It didn't. The fact that when his brain was very plastic, was very malleable, he did a lot of athletics. It doesn't have to be the sport you're in currently today, but you were very athletic as a child. Like, I didn't start really training till I was 20. So my athletic ability was stunted. Whereas if I was trained from young, and again, John Tudor Pompa's work, I've talked about this in the past. He actually has a study on this. Okay, so it has nothing to do with their exercise. It has to do with the fact that they started so young at such a high level. Okay, what else we got here? Have you ever had a rival from another gym come to your gym and challenge the best fighter? If you did, who won for us? That's from Angel Lop. No, I've never had that. I've never had a guy come in like to a dojo fight. No, never. Like challenge our best guy. No, don't get me wrong. There's some guys in the gym that got beat up. Yeah, because they came in, they had a bad attitude. They were trying to. I'll tell you a story. A long time ago. Once upon a time, a guy came in the gym and he wanted to be a pro fighter. He came in with another coach that I know, and they're like, these kids are really good prospects. There were two of them. Can you help them out? And I was helped them out. They were blue belts at the time. Like, we would tie them up in pretzels, and it was really easy work for us. But we're training them, we're teaching them, and they were loyal kids. They were good kids. One of them was really good, and the other one was a bad seed. But I didn't know that at the time. They were very humble at that time, right? And then when they were sparring, and I was watching them spar, and the bad seed, he was like really roughing up people. And I went up to him and I told him, look, you can't do that. You got to spar sensibly. That guy you're sparring with is green. Okay. And he would rough the guy up, and I'd stop him again. Like, this guy he doesn't understand. And then after several warnings, kicking him out of class, being like, this kid just doesn't understand. This kid just like, he's too rough. Like he's rolling with somebody like 10 pounds lighter than him or 20 pounds lighter than him, and he's really going to town. So after kicking him out off the mat several times, I said, you know what? Let's go, me and you. Let's glove up. And listen, I ended up flattening him out. And during the sparring, you want to go rough? Let's go rough. You want to spar hard? Let's spar hard. And this is like, the kid was like, he was a good fighter by now. He was very good fighter. Oh, shit, I'm trying to. So lo and behold, I flattened him out. He's laying on the canvas. He's flattened out. And after that day, he left. Never came back again. And he opened up like a school, and he was like a rival and this and that. The guy never went nowhere. He had a bad attitude. The kid had such a bad attitude. His whole thing, his whole gym, everything broke apart. Like, he was just this crazy guy. But the truth of the matter is, he was his own worst enemy. But it's so rare. And maybe that's happened a few times, but never like an official dojo fight or anything like that. No, that I've never done. I would say running 3 miles 3 to 4 times a week. Man, I hate it when it skips. Sorry, I lost that question. As I was reading it, it skipped. I'm trying my best here to find it. Sorry. Oh, here it is. No one who runs... Oh, no, it's not the same one. No one who runs 15 to 20 miles a day has that physique. TRT for sure. That's from Stephen Hartley. Stephen, are you saying that gentleman we looked at, Cameron Haynes? Cameron Haynes is an ultra marathon runner and he's jacked like that? Come on, guys. Come on. Does he admit to TRT or does he deny it? You could be lean. You could be very ripped as an ultra marathon runner, but you're not muscular. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make any sense. You could be very, very lean. Like, you don't have to be, I was talking about like you'll gain fat. That happens to some people, not everybody. Some people are so religious with how they eat. So if you're taking only greens in, and you're like super religious, you won't gain that fat. Because if people like, I know some runners, like there's one guy, they call him the fruitarian. All he eats is fruit, and he's a marathon runner, ultra marathon runner. He's super lean, not super jacked and muscular, but he's super lean, not an ounce of fat on him. All he eats is fruit. It works for him and his system. There's some people, they only eat greens. I'm telling you, it exists. Like, I don't know how they could live like that, but they only ever eat green foods and some fruits when they're running. Don't forget, marathon running is not a glycogenic sport. You can get away with fats. You can be a very successful ultra marathon runner using fats. You can be very healthy. That's what I was telling you guys. I'm in a glycogenic sports. Ultra marathon running is not a glycogenic sport, even though many marathon runners do eat carbs. Okay, but I've seen marathon runners that are very successful on fat and they're lean because they're very careful with how they eat. They never get off their diet. They don't eat grains. Okay, we got a super chat here. Truth Talk sent me $5 for no apparent reason. Thank you, my man. Thank you. Firas, what do you think of Charlie Francis style tempo runs to build the aerobic system that he used with his sprinters? That's from Mojo. Mojo, I've corresponded with Charlie Francis. He was actually quite of an influence on me during my career. And I've actually hung out with Ben Johnson, his greatest pupil, and who also famously was busted for steroids. But the thing is, they're all on steroids. The whole lineup was on steroids. And he was still, the champion. I'm not sure what you mean by style tempo runs. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I don't recall. I haven't looked at his material in many, many years, but I don't recall style tempo runs. He runs a marathon every day. Are you talking about that fellow we looked at before, the Cameron fellow? That would be very surprising to me if he runs a marathon every day and is jacked like that. Coach, for us, sir, is it true you prefer to be called sensei, not coach in the gym? No, that's not true. Angel Lop. No. People call me coach in the gym. Some people call me sensei. I only require my wife to call me sensei, but this is a different story. Coach, for us, how do you build up cardio after 5 years of smoking 1 pack a day? That's from Cooper Bra. Wow. Listen, start mellow. Start with a light jog. Now is the time to start light jogging. Light jogging will build into sprinting. Like if I haven't trained in 5 years, I wouldn't start with sprinting. You're going to be really regretting it. And learn the technical way to run. Okay, you have to learn pose running. POSE. Okay, so that's Papa, Oscar, Sierra, Echo. POSE, running. Run properly. Okay, or else you're going to hurt your knees. What's the most underrated martial art for MMA? That's kind of they're all important. All the combat arts are important. Salam, there's a lot of super chats you forgot to answer. That's from Adam Halim. Really? Did I miss them? How do I miss them? Maybe when I go on my rants, I miss them. All right. It won't let me go anything higher, so I can't see them again. My apologies, guys. I hate missing them. I apologize. I know you guys are putting up money. I hate to... I wish I could refund you some way. Sorry, guys. I'm scanning through here. I don't see it. Oh, here it is. Opinion on bread as carb source, coach. Bread, in my opinion, it's the lesser of the carb sources. Okay, me personally, I love bread, guys. You don't understand. L1 asks opinion on bread as a carb source. I love bread. I'm Lebanese. I love bread. I love freshly baked bread. Like, I have bread recipe that I love. I just made it. I even make it out on the barbecue, and then it comes out, and it's like the greatest thing in the world. It smells so good. Me and my kids were like, he made bread. But it has to be fresh bread. Like fresh bread is like, it's like, fresh bread is ridiculously good. Now you guys are going to, you're going to pin me for a stereotype here, but fresh bread, hummus or garlic or pizza, made with pizza, it's too good, man. It's just too good. But homemade fresh bread. However, I always gain weight when I eat bread. I always end up overeating because I can't stop myself. Like, I love bread too much, and I gain weight. Like, I gain right away. It doesn't work for me. Bread doesn't work for me. And if you can get away with bread, man, God bless you. But me, I stay away from bread. I eat bread as a cheat meal. If I have bread, it's a cheat meal. Like, I consider it a cheat meal. I know there are healthier breads out there. I don't really experiment with them too much. My grains of choice are quinoa, oatmeal almost every single morning. Very little bread, rice. I'll have some rice. What else do I use for... couscous. I do enjoy couscous. Those work better for me. Bread always makes me put on weight. According to Reddit, he admitted to taking steroids. That's from Bilal Kharis. Bilal Kharis. Makes sense to me. Some people then it doesn't bother them. They're open about it. I think you have to be honest because people are following you. People are trying to mimic you. And they think they're going to get the same result. Oh, I'm going to eat no carbs and I'm going to run a marathon every day. It's like, dude, you're going to become so skinny, so weak, so frail, so injured. This man is recovering between marathons because he's on gear. Like, I can take a look at him and tell you he's on gear. What do you put in your oatmeal, coach? That's from Frankie Sharp. I do the Dolce bowl, breakfast bowl. It's brilliant, guys. It's the best breakfast, okay? Get his 3 weeks to shred it. It's a must-have book in your library. Dolce Diet, 3 weeks to shred it. It's an eye-opener because he takes a whole bunch of athletes and he shows you what literally, thank God somebody made this book. This is exactly the book we want. He tells you everything they ate, what weight they start. He weighs them every day for 3 weeks. He did it with a plethora of fighters. He takes you from this date to that date, every single day, every single thing they put in their mouth, everything they ate, and you could see it and understand very easily. Like if you don't understand after reading this book, you're like, nobody can help you. Nobody can help you. He made it so crystal clear, and you get the gist of it. But what he does with his breakfast bowl, he puts chia seeds, flax seeds, a quarter cup of oatmeal only, which I think is great. He puts cinnamon in it. You could put fresh fruit. You could put a cashew butter. Like, you can jazz it up in the way you want. Okay, so there's different ways he does it. Me, what I normally do, because I'm always in a rush, I take a mug like this. I have breakfast with, and it's great because it digests so well. The oatmeal is so easy to digest, right? If you're training or you're on the go, it's just so easy. I take a mug like this. I put a quarter cup oatmeal, hot water. It's cooked. I put 1 spoon flaxseed, 1 spoon chia seed, 1 tablespoon honey to sweeten it up. I'll throw in some fruit if I have. If I have grapes or whatever fruit, I'll chop it up, throw it in there. Mix it up. Voila, I'm done. I also throw cinnamon there. Cinnamon's great. Now, will I always make it like that? No. Sometimes I'll throw in cashews or cashew butter, or sometimes I'll throw in raisins to sweeten it up. Sometimes I put maple syrup to sweeten it up. You got to sweeten up that oatmeal a little bit. And it's ultimate breakfast. You're in a glycogenic sport. Now, they've done studies on people who train. They did a study once on a group that eats carbs before training and a group that doesn't eat carbs before training. They go low carb versus the high carb. The carb eaters. The carb eaters train harder. Duh, obviously. So if I give you a bag workout, but you're on fats, or maybe you woke up in the morning, had a little bit of kefir milk and I don't know, some nuts, and you go and hit the bag, you're not gonna work out as hard as the guy who had the oatmeal, the guy who had that breakfast bowl. I put it in a mug. Okay, you make your breakfast bowl in a mug. It's even more convenient. Because the oatmeal cooks better, right? It's all piled up on the. It can't hide from that hot water. You're gonna work out a lot harder. I've noticed that too because I've done like no carb. I've done fasted training. Like I go hit the bag. I just don't have the energy to get. I'll do it. I'll get through it. But I don't feel good. I don't feel as good. I don't feel as excited to do a workout. I'm dragging my feet. Whereas if I eat the carbs, I'm like bang, 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 bang. I'm having fun. I'm in a better mood, and I get leaner, man. And the muscle is important. All right, we got another super chat here. Almost missed it. Nate Diaz or George Masvidal? That's from Jean Barbeau. Oh, man, you just hit me at an hour and 59 minutes. You hit me with that question. That fight's coming up soon. Listen, guys, it's so hard for me to... that's a tough one to call. It's a 5-rounder. I like Diaz in the later rounds. I like Masvidal in the earlier rounds. On paper, I think Masvidal should win, but I've seen him in the media so much. Like, every time I turn on YouTube, it's like, George Masvidal. Like, I hope he's training because Diaz is not an easy opponent, okay? Diaz is no easy opponent. He's a tough guy. He's going to come. He's going to bring it. However, I think Masvidal is more athletic, naturally bigger, as seasoned, as experienced, but because he's naturally bigger and more athletic, and he's just as much as a tough guy as Nate, I'm going with Masvidal. But I'm hoping that Masvidal is training around the clock because it's not a free fight. Cookies, French fries are the best carb source. Yeah, Skylight, send me a picture of yourself. I'm assuming you're quite round. It's so good. I love it. Pizza is my worst enemy. That's from L1. L1, I feel you. I love pizza. Like, pizza is like, I could eat pizza every single day. I could eat pizza every single day. I don't, but I get what you're saying. Pizza is incredible. Pizza is just like an incredible food. Coach, have you tried Ethiopian flatbread? That's from Solomon. No, I have not. I don't know if you're making a joke, but no, I have not. Salam, Coach, do you think that an age of 25 you can start bodybuilding and have great physique? Absolutely, you can bodybuild and have a great physique. Absolutely. 100%. Do some research on that, okay? 25 is very young. 25 is very, very young. What makes you such a savage at martial arts and just life in general? That's from Young Man. Young Man, you're flattering me. I appreciate it, but I don't know what you mean by this. Listen, I love what I do. If you love what you do a lot of it, and you'll find success, okay? So find something you're very passionate about. I'm very passionate about martial arts, so I like to do a lot of it. Are new techniques still being discovered? That's from Willie Wu-Tang. Absolutely still being discovered. Today I was just horsing around with some new techniques that I saw some fighters do, and I was like, wow, that's cool. Let me try that. Always, of course, absolutely. Martial arts are infinite. Do you feel like if they added regular t-shirts / pants and shoes in MMA, that would change the way people played the sport? Nelson Kingman. Yeah, if you're wearing shoes, you're gonna kick differently. You're gonna do, you probably kick the shin more, like straight up boot the shin. The shin bone is a very sensitive part of the body, like kicking it with your toes. But if you had a shoe, you can do that. You can kick a lot more with confidence, not worrying about hurting your foot on an elbow or anything like that. And if you're wearing a t-shirt, there are ways to choke people with your t-shirt, believe it or not. Like there are techniques that can be utilized. Absolutely, it makes a big difference when somebody's bare-chested. It's more slippery. It's harder to hold on to them. Definitely makes a difference. Robert Murphy, paleo bread. Yeah, paleo bread. It's not as good, guys. It's just not as good. It just doesn't have that bite to it. You know? I've seen people like make paleo pizza. It's like, wow, what a nightmare. Like, this is like a work of art. This took like 5 hours. Just eat a real pizza, for God's sakes, and go train. Like, just like fast 24 hours and eat one pizza, and you'll be fine. But the way they make the pizza, it's like it takes 8 hours to make a pizza that I would inhale. I would inhale this pizza. Like, guys, if you ever see me eat pizza, I could eat a whole extra large pizza to myself. Like, I don't do it, but I could do it. I could. You guys don't want to see me do it. Maybe one day I'll all you in a special video where I eat a whole pizza or something like that. Like, I don't do this. I don't practice it. I think it's highly unhealthy. But believe me, I could. Charlie Francis, tempo running. Oh, man, it skipped. Hold on. He was describing tempo running. Please let me find tempo running. Okay, I lost the tempo running. Guys, if you can cut and paste, if you find it. Oh, here it is. Mojo. Charlie Francis, tempo running, for example, meaning 40 seconds at around 70% intensity with around 20 seconds of active rest for about 10 reps, 2 sets. That does make sense. 70% and up. So let's say 70% to 95% running intensity makes a lot of sense to me. And this would be anaerobic because you're doing it for 40 seconds. And active rest is good. I like interval. I like HIIT. So let's say you're doing 30 seconds in the aerodyne, 20 seconds off, 30 seconds, or like 20 seconds just kind of like really relaxed. And then hitting it hard again. I like these things. I think these things make sense, okay? High intensity. If you're low, steady state intensity, dude, you're going to be weak, or you're weakening yourself. You're making yourself weaker, okay? Unless you're in a highly aerobic sport like boxing. Boxing is 36 minutes. That's highly aerobic. It's both anaerobic and highly aerobic. Okay, maybe you need to run more. Your legs need that volume. But if you're in a 15-minute fight, you don't need that crazy amount of volume. Georgie by Kimura. I'm assuming you mean George Masvidal. That's from Thanos Magnus. Thanos Magnus believes Georgie by Kimura. Which Dolce Diet book do you recommend? There is a lot. That's from Frankie Sharp. I like 3 Weeks to Shred It. That's the one I really like. Okay, guys, 2 hours and 5 minutes. That flew by. We have another super chat. How is George bigger? Nate is taller plus more reach. You're forgetting about muscle, my friend. Who has more muscle mass? That counts for a lot. Okay, and don't forget, they both were 155ers, went up, but I feel like Masvidal, he's more muscular, more strong, more athletic. George is a thick boy. That's from Robert Murphy. Robert, you took the words right out of my mouth. Where to start with philosophy? That's from P. Gonziha. One soft landing is Euthyphro by Plato. It's a very soft landing. Or, if you're more ambitious, read First Meditations by René Descartes. Okay, guys, let's end it with one last one. Let's make it a good one. Over 1,000 people in the chat room. That's pretty fun. What's the name of the book? Which book are you referring to? I have no idea what you're asking me. I put in Euthyphro by Plato. Very soft landing. And Descartes' Meditations. Meditations on First Philosophy. All right. What else we got here? All right, we got a $10 super chat. Assalamu alaikum from Melbourne, Australia. Bro, thank you for inspiration and sharing your knowledge that many would not share with honesty. I started jiu-jitsu. What would you recommend for me? Thank you, Informed Islam. I really recommend, find a good instructor. When he teaches, it's fascinating to you. He has a great way to teach. That way you're always looking forward to class. Find a good instructor. He's teaching you really fascinating stuff. And then you try it and it works for you. That style works for you. There's so much information online. Follow good YouTubers. Buy some instructionals. Do your homework. Watch those videos. Expand your mind. See what else is out there. But find a really, really good instructor that motivates you. For success, you need a good instructor and you need a good student. The two together, they'll be successful. If you have a good instructor and a bad student, you can't go that far. If your instructor is really bad and the student's really good, you won't go as far as you could have. All right, another super chat. Okay, guys, I'm going to wind it down here. Thanks so much. We'll tune in for the next AMA for sure. That's from L1. Thank you, L1. Appreciate it. Okay, guys, last one, and let's hit it. Last one. Let's sign off on a good one. What else we got here? Message retracted. Whiskey Dragon retracted a message. Whiskey, I assume you thought twice about this because I'll ban you from my Snapchat or whatever you call this thing, chat room, because I do rule with an iron fist. Kron was cutting off the cage. Wasn't cutting off the cage. That's from Wildcats. No, we talked about that. Yes, you're correct. He was not cutting off the cage. How much money did you make today? That's from Garrett Soares. Garrett, your financial advisor? Coach, any advice on coming back to jiu-jitsu after 6 months hiatus? We talked about that earlier, my man. Kevin Diego. Start back slow and ramp up. Great podcast, Coach. Thank you, California Love. Hey, Faraz, can I train at your gym? Yes, all are welcome. I almost forgot to mention Tristar Gym, guys. If you want to come stay at the tsdorms, if you want to stay at the Tristar dorms, email tsdorms@gmail.com. Tell them when you're coming. They'll send you a quote. Okay, guys, we got to end on a high note here. Let me circle back to the earlier questions. I like the Republic. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Are you thinking I'm going to turn this chat room into a republic? Hell no. Dictatorship, my friend. I'm a democratically elected dictator of this channel. Democratically elected, my friends. I hold like Kim Jong-un, I hold a regular election, and I win unanimously every year. Go figure. Hey, coach. You said that not everyone can be a world champion. How can you know if you're able to be a world champion in MMA? That's from Hamid Sharab. Okay, let's end on this one. That was a good one. Okay, Hamid, listen. I don't want to say I can tell you who's going to be a world champion or not. I can't. Nobody has that power. Okay, I don't believe anybody has that power. However, what I'm saying is if you look at the guys in the top 5 or the top 10, let's be generous here. Let's say top 10. They all look. Even the guy who's in the top 5 was once 15. I'm talking about the guys who get there. Okay, so if, let's say a guy's ranked 15, we don't know if he's gonna squeeze his way into the top 5. We don't know yet. Okay, it's still a question mark. But let's say you're in the top 5. Okay, let's be elitist here. Those guys were hardworking and talented. That's what I see every time I look at the top 5. Sometimes there's a division that's kind of weak. Maybe, the key guys got injured or they retired, and there's like a gap, and maybe a guy who wouldn't be there during the golden age of the welterweight period or the lightweight period or whatever division you want to choose. Maybe he wouldn't have been there if Muhammad Ali, he was in the era of Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean? Like he wouldn't have been number 2 or number 3 or not. He would like in the golden era of okay. So the welterweight division or the heavyweight division, any division will go through eras. They'll go through periods where it's really stacked and then sometimes it's not so stacked. But when we looked at the hot stacked divisions, the divisions that are very difficult to win, it seems that the top 5 guys always have a special something. They had a talent. Either they're freakishly strong, or they have incredible endurance, or they have an incredible reach, or they have incredible speed, plus they have a lot of skill. That's just been my personal observation. Now, when you train, do people tell you that? Hey, man, you're above average in strength. Like your technical skill, your understanding of technique is so imaginative. It's so incredible. Like you have something special. Usually, you will hear that early on in your career. Like for instance, I was always told I was super technical. Like when I used to train with my instructors, they always tell me, you really learn fast, you memorize. That's why they asked me to teach. Like my instructors weren't around, they say, you teach because you understand it well, you explain it well, you actually refine it. Like I was always very technically, it was natural to me. I would see the technique and I would kind of like, I can do this. I don't even have to rep it. I can do it. So that made me, I think it helped me be an instructor, because I could show you 2-3 techniques and you pick which one you think is best for that situation we're talking about, because you might not like the other 2, or you might like 2 of 3. Like I can give you a variety of options that maybe work better for you. Like some guys don't like to roll upside down, or some guys, they don't like to defend with an underhook. Like they like to whizzer. So okay, here's what we do from the whizzer, but I prefer underhook. Okay, so you can do it this way with an underhook. So I think that helped me become a really good instructor, and naturally I gravitated towards instruction. You got to find what you're so good at naturally. And that's why I was so impressed with Kron, because Kron has a superpower, man. He has a talent, because you can't teach what he did. Stay cool in the trench with an expert, a guy who has 5 times the experience you have. When you get hit, keep coming forward. It's really takes a lot of will and heart, and he's got it. Okay, now you can develop it maybe, but you can. I believe you can. But he's got it immensely. He's got it, and that is not an easy thing to teach. Okay, I've seen guys who are really skilled in the practice room. Then they get hit and they start sidestepping, and they're thinking about how they're gonna get out of this fight. Well, what are you doing? You got hit. This fighting. No. I'm scared. Or they start being really shy in the fight. They're not throwing no more. They're out. You could see they're out of the fight. They just want the clock to ring. No, that's maybe an extreme. I'm trying to contrast it. But Kron does have something incredible. He does. He has a will of steel. I have to give that to him. And it's very admirable. Okay, guys, I hope you shared. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you all in the next episode. Thank you.